And I am back. I is here. So are you. Thank you for hanging out. Peaches is at a women's retreat still, hosting a women's retreat still. It's Sunday. She comes home tomorrow. So it's just me all by my lonesome doing internet influencer things. I'm influencing you to be a better person. Today is January 18th. You know what that means? That means we are more than 2 weeks into January. All of that new year, new you bullshit that you were spouting at the beginning of the year. Where are you at with your goals? Where are you at with drinking water? Where are you at with your physical fitness? Have you talked to your boss about a raise yet? Have you fixed the shit that's going on in your household? Right? That's what we're doing right now. Now that that's out of my system, because I looked over and realized it was January 18th. How's everybody doing? We're going to read some fucked up things today. It is not Patreon only. This is live to the world. I'm gonna try to make some money this weekend. So send super chats. We're gonna read some more Reddit stuff. Danish and IT guy Chris were in the Discord fucking finding things for me to read to keep you guys entertained. And I'm gonna do my best, but I took my medicine this morning and I took a little bit more than I should have, so things are a little weird. This first one's called TIFU. Does that mean today I fucked up? Today I fucked up by thinking I was muted during a work meeting. Oh man, these are gonna be good. Get that pop out chat going so that I can see my friends while I'm talking. Guys, we just played some Call of Duty, and I made Jenna motion sick by moving and sliding and running. And it made me feel pretty good about myself because it looked like I was playing on a mouse and keyboard and I was just playing on a controller. All right, this happened today and I'm still recovering. I work from home and had a routine Zoom meeting with about 20 coworkers, including my manager and 2 higher ups. Nothing intense, just status updates. I joined in, said hello, and immediately muted myself, or so I thought. About 10 minutes into the meeting, it got painfully boring and my brain fully checked out. I started scrolling my phone, and when my cat jumped on my desk, I instinctively said in my normal speaking voice, "Bro, please, you already ate. Stop acting like you're starving." Then without missing a beat, "You are so dramatic. You would never survive in the wild." There was a brief pause. Then someone said my name. I looked up at Zoom and saw the horror. I was not muted. The green box was glowing proudly around my face. My manager was trying not to laugh. One coworker had turned their camera off entirely. Another said, honestly, that was the most personality we've heard all meeting." I apologized and said something about talking to my notes and then muted myself for real this time. 5 minutes later, my manager slacked me. Please tell your cat we appreciate his contribution." So yeah, today I fucked up by holding a full motivational speech for my cat in front of my entire department. So the reality is there was probably somebody that was stuffing their face, and you hit them with the, you act like you've never met what did you say? You already ate. Stop acting like you're starving. They probably like, "Oh shit, I'm eating a sandwich," and turn their fucking camera off. That's funny. Those kind of stories, like I don't see how people get stressed out about shit like that. Like I think that's just normal life shit. We all do dumb shit. Oh man, this one's called "Today I Became a Prostitute." Oh man, do we really want to go down this rabbit hole? Yes, we do. We really do want to go down this rabbit hole. Oh man. About a year ago, I made a brief post about how I began performing sexual favors for money while suffering from alcoholism and gambling addictions. Many of you seem to enjoy my story, and some of your comments changed the way that I approached it and felt about my situation. Therefore, I thought an update would be appropriate. Though it is quite a late update. Hey, if you guys haven't read anything by Tucker Max and you enjoy stories like this, I highly recommend that you read his shit. I don't know if he has books. I know that at one point it was just like a constant blog of all of his debauchery, but oh my fucking God, was it funny. All right. I didn't see or hear from Barb for about a month after our awkward run-in at the bar, which incidentally spawned the original post in the first place. I started imagining that she was paying someone else for sex. Turns out she was visiting her brother in Arizona for a few weeks. During the time I hadn't heard from or seen Barb, I did not bring up anything to my friends who witnessed our previous interaction. When I made the original post, my biggest concern was how my friends would react to my situation with Barb. In all actuality, nobody brought it up to me, and I feel like we should have hit the first one first. No one brought it up to me, and I certainly didn't bring it up either. I think they had their suspicions, but nobody treated me differently, and it was easier for me to cope with the scope of the situation. Barb hit me up one night, January of last year, explained where she had been, asked if I could help take down her Christmas lights, and I came over. To my surprise, she actually wanted her Christmas lights taken down. I explained my actions for running away at the bar, and she said that after I left, she told my friends that she was joking and that she felt bad for making me uncomfortable. Apparently, they thought I was being a spaz. I asked Barb's to keep things on the DL in public, but she told me that she didn't want to move forward with our previous agreement. She said that she got too caught up in the heat and pleasure and ended up doing things that she now feels uneasy about. She said that we could still hook up for fun, but she didn't want to continue paying for sex. I made her feel filthy. I didn't have any interest in an FWB situation because I am not attached to her, but I didn't tell her that. I expressed to her that I am willing to remain friends, but that I'm only interested in sex with girls I'm pursuing for a relationship. I told her that I've only recently found out that I apparently make exceptional money. I only found out that I apparently make an exception for money. I also added that if she changes her mind and if I'm single, I'd be down to do this again. This in particular was a response I made to Barb thanks to some of the opinions I read in the comments about my previous post. Some of you encouraged me to get that bag. Oh, man. I still drink a lot, but socially. I still gamble, but much less frequently and at much lower amounts. Barb hit me up in February and once in March for my services. Now we see each other at the bar every once in a while. We smile at each other, we talk, we laugh, but I think we're both past that part of our lives. Things have been going truly well for me, and at the age of 33, I feel very positive. I'm not exactly where I want to be or where I could have been had I made better choices the past few years, but I'm happy with who I am and how I treat others and where my future is headed. This would have been really funny if he'd have been like, but if any of you need my services, hit me up or some shit. That would have been good. That would have been good. All right. This one is accidentally nuked my microwave. This is a short one. Today I fucked up by trying to save money, but I accidentally broke my microwave. Obligatory. This didn't happen today, but recently. I was trying to get eco-friendly and to avoid paper towels, so I decided to steam clean my microwave using a bowl of water and a lemon. Seemed harmless, right? I left it on high while I went to check my email for just a minute. Just a minute. Well, apparently just a minute in a microwave is the time equivalent of a nuclear meltdown. By the time I came back, my kitchen was filled with smoke. The water completely evaporated, the lemon scorched black, and the microwave emitting a smell that could probably summon demons. My kitchen has a faint burnt mark on it now, and the microwave is dead. I've gained an extreme new respect for the following instructions. I have a extreme new respect for following instructions. That's funny. Yep, some of these are entertaining. Some of these are entertaining. That one is taken down. All right. I did that with a Pop-Tart once. It's funny. You guys know if you put a whole egg in the microwave, like the actual egg itself, it'll explode. Yep, it's a thing. What is the most outlandish, hilarious, surprising thing that you have ever seen go down in public? As a man that has reached the ripe old age of 48, I can promise you I have seen some shit go down. This one totally takes the cake for me, though. I was waiting out in front of a truck stop back in the mid-'80s, sitting on a park bench with a guy that had a big Rottweiler kind of dog on a leash with him. I tried to make small talk, but he was quite a sourpuss. So we sat in silence. That's when you're having a good day and you're just having a day like I'm having and you're sitting in silence. Smile and the world will smile with you. Have some fucking fun, guys. So we sat in silence for a few minutes until the most unexpected thing I had ever seen happened right before my eyes. While we were sitting there, a big 18-wheeler pulls in with a trailer bobtail, So he parks right up front like a normal car would. Inside the cab of the truck with the driver is a little monkey. The dance for an organ grinder kind. I think they are called rhesus monkeys, perhaps. Well, the dog spots the little monkey and proceeds to go apeshit over it, lunging at the end of his leash and barking at the top of his lungs, generally making a real spectacle of himself, to say the least. The driver obviously upset, but not nearly as much as the monkey is. Actually, upset may be the wrong adjective to use for the monkey, though. In retrospect, I think eagerly aggressive may have been more appropriate description for the disposition. He was pacing the dashboard back and forth, never taking his eyes off this very aggravating dog. The driver opens his little triangle window that they don't make on cars anymore, the ones made for smokers back in the day. He yells out to this douchebag to call his dog off because it's upsetting his monkey. The guy laughs and says, "No way. Told you he was a jerk, didn't I?" Says that his dog ain't bothering nobody. The dog hasn't shut up since he laid eyes on the monkey. I promise you he is bothering everybody for several blocks around. Now here's where things start to get interesting. The driver says that if he doesn't call his dog off, he's going to let his monkey loose on the dog. Douchebag laughs and says that his dog would eat that monkey alive. Upon hearing this, the driver leans over and reaches into his glove box, I guess, pulls out one of those tiny baseball bats that you used to get at the Astro World carnivals, and places it in the monkey's hand. Oh my God. The monkey obviously knows what's about to go down because he's now trying to squeeze out of that little triangular window mentioned earlier. I wish I could have seen this. The monkey has murder in his eyes, if I've ever seen it. The driver hollers, "Last chance to save your dog's ass, man." In response, the douchebag lets his dog off the leash. Now we have a situation that has escalated to the point where we have a dog jumping up at the window and a monkey screaming profanities right back at him. Well, the driver finally rolls his window down and out leaps all kind of miniature primate hell. The dog never knew what hit him. Quick as a flash, the monkey is riding on the back of this dog's neck. His two back feet wrapped around his neck fur, with one hand hanging onto an ear and the other hand, as you may have guessed it by now, is steadily and mercilessly raining down blows about this dog's head and face. And I mean hard blows. You can hear the whap, whap, whap. Well, it only took a moment for the dog to realize that he was in over his head. He bolts yelping bloody murder as he runs away at full speed. I mean, this dog is running so fucking hard, he's throwing up tufts of grass and dirt as he leaves the pavement. The monkey's still riding him and beating him the whole time. Douchebag acts like he wants to fight, but now several people, including myself, stepped in to stop the nonsense. In a couple of minutes or so, the little monkey comes lopping back, with his little bat still in hand, leaps up on the still open window to the truck to await his master, who has gone into the store. The wanker ran off to try to find his dog, but I don't know if he ever did. My ride showed up and I had to go. Never in this lifetime will I see something so totally crazy and unexpected like that. I am both fortunate and humble to have seen and to have been so privileged to be present for such an event. That's fucking funny. That is funny. This first comment says, I was having a new exhaust put on my Subaru by a small specialty shop in New York. We dropped it off and then said we would just go walk around for a couple of hours until it was done. Staff advised us that it was a rough area. We were 19 and from Canada. What's the worst that could happen? After walking through a couple of blocks of burnt out houses and straight out of the movies for us, ghetto, we decided to turn around and get back to the shop ASAP. We walk around a corner to see a group of 5 large, thuggish young black men ahead of us. They notice us and turn to walk in our direction. Instant brick shitting. Do we run? Do we plead for our lives? We decided to do the Canadian thing and just keep walking like nothing's going to happen. The gang reaches us after a few seconds, kind of does a half circle around the two of us. There's no escape, only robbery or death. What appears to be the leader makes contact. Yo, we got a question for you guys. We sheepishly go, yeah. What's the plural of penis? Is it penises? I think so. One of the other gang members blurts out, see, I told you, man, as they all kind of laugh and thank us and tell us to have a good day. That is my only encounter with American street youth. That's funny. All right, let's go to a different Reddit thing because I'm gonna get lost in the comments if I go down that rabbit hole. I hate it when they archive posts and I can't read the shit. All right, this one's called Today I Fucked Up by Throwing My Steak Out a Window. Last night, my wife's, Jesus Christ. Last night, my wife's boss from a brand new job invited us over for dinner. On the drive over, my wife reiterated many times to me just how important it was to make a good impression. I scoffed and arrogantly informed my silly wife that I always make good impressions. My wife's boss was a single lady in her 50s, so it was just the three of us. We chit-chatted over drinks and salads and seemed to be really hitting it off. She laughed at my well-timed, perfectly appropriate jokes, and my wife seemed pleased. Soon she brought out the main course, a nice, big, juicy steak for each of us. As I began to cut into my steak, I was discouraged to discover how undercooked the steak was. Sorry, buddy, that's called how a steak is supposed to be cooked, how perfectly this steak is supposed to be cooked. He said, now I've had my fair share of rare steak. I prefer medium, but I can handle rare. This was several minutes on a hot grill short of rare. They call that, I think they call that Texas blue. I could be wrong on that. It's something blue. Anyways, I probably could have, and I only know that because when we were in the Arizona meet and greet in Dakota, who is now formerly known as West, or who is aptly known as West Dakota, because we have a Tennessee Dakota and West Coast Dakota. He came to the meet and greet. He also ended up going to Costa Rica with us. He's a really cool dude. Really, really enjoy hanging out with that guy. He ordered the steak and they got the exact same thing, but they gave me his and they gave him mine. And he's like, I think my steak is overcooked. And I looked down, I was like, mine's fucking perfect. And he looked at me and he's like, yeah, that's because it's mine. I was like, bro, it's fucking amazing. I'm gonna eat this shit. I don't want to tell you. He's like, no, it's fine. He was being nice because I was enjoying his steak, but if I was him, I'd be like, bro, we gotta trade plates. Pittsburgh Blue. It's called Pittsburgh Blue. There you go. I knew it was based off of a state. You just tell them to cut off its horns, wipe its ass, walk it by the grill, and put it on the plate. Okay. I probably could have resuscitated the cow had I tried. Instead, I sat there fidgeting with my knife and fork, worrying about how I was going to get away with not eating the steak. Claim veganism? No. I already feigned great enthusiasm upon seeing the steak. Just then, our hostess excused herself to the kitchen to take care of dessert preparations as I looked across the fancy dining room table at the open window of this third-story apartment. A cartoon light bulb appeared above my head. I knew I had to be decisive, realizing that she could return at any moment. I committed. I grabbed the steak and with my hand, I gently shook the juice off of it and executed a perfect throw right out the center of the open window. Here's where the big time fuck you is. F-U is. Fuck up. Here's where the big time fuck up is. The window wasn't open. It was just the cleanest fucking window I've ever seen. And that's when I saw the mostly raw slab of steak slam up against it and slowly slide down, leaving a trail of bloody juice in its wake. My wife, whose steak is nice and medium rare, was unaware of my predicament, turned, jaw dropped, and stared at me like I was an alien from another planet. This look then slowly morphed into more of "there's no place on this planet you can ever hide from me" expression of demonic anger. My wife's boss heard the thud of the steak on the window impact and came quickly. She took in the scene of the steak sliding down the windowsill with the blood trail and my empty plate, and then gave me an inquisitive, puzzled look. I just didn't know what to say. It felt like a minute of silence, but was probably 3 or 4 seconds. Finally, the best I could manage was, "I am so sorry. I'm such a klutz." I don't know how, but I was cutting it and it slipped. Just to ask my wife. Oh man. I'm really a klutz, right, honey? No help coming from that direction. I'll clean this up. I can't believe this. I'm so sorry, etc., etc. Both women continue to stare at me like I had escaped from the loony bin as I had smeared the blood around the window with my cloth napkin, dusted the steak, and continued to mutter my incoherent... You dusted off your steak and continued to mutter my incoherent explanation. I knew no one was buying the story. Oh, super chat. Lemon said, hi, I'm the one who asked you to react to a song in Discord. I was just wondering if you had a chance to think about it. If not, that's okay. I have not. I didn't even do it. Real shit. I played some video games. I had a whole lot of fun murking motherfuckers online. And then I was like, oh shit, it's almost 1 o'clock. I need to go get online. So I'm online and now we're reading funny stories. Also, real shit. I don't really listen to a whole lot of music. Everything that I listen to music wise is like very uplifting, positive. I used to really vibe with Jelly Roll. Like he was my favorite musician for probably a decade. And, I used to listen to a whole lot of depressing, like just not good music. And ever since my first Aya ceremony, like I can't listen to anything that's not uplifting. Like I even have a hard time listening to like Christian metal because of the it's just too much. Okay. I knew what I had to do. I sheepishly returned to my seat and proceeded to eat every bite of that disgusting, cold, chewy, bloody raw steak. That's funny. Your hoodie purchase information, please. This was, you can buy this on our website, tobebetter.com. You won't be able to get it in the orange. We only have it in black. And you will not get a Carhartt version of it because these were limited runs. I actually thought about asking the Discord today if y'all wanted another run of these hoodies because, I would like a neon green one to go with my neon orange one. And if that's the case, I may as well do another limited edition run. Anyways, back to this. I remained pretty quiet the rest of the evening. My wife's only 2 words to me since the incidents are, I'm fine. Update. I just got the first post, I'm fine communication from my wife via text who is at work. Good news, boss blank, and I just had a good laugh at how much of a fucking idiot you are. I hope you know you will never live this down. Love you, moron. That's funny. Okay, so I'm almost positive that he sent a follow-up. Oh, the wife's version. The wife's version. Let's fucking go. Let's go. Blah, 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 blah. I would love a green one. Neon green sounds awesome. Green would be awesome. I'd buy one. They're $80. They're not cheap. Carhartt hoodies are fucking expensive. We did a pink one. Peaches has a pink one. I don't know if I'm going to do a whole run of just neon green ones. I might. I probably will. I like neon colors. This motherfucker glows under a black light. Ask me how I know. Last time Peaches and I were in the Zen Den, I turned on all the lights in there, and all the lights in that entire building are black lights. And oh my fucking god, dude, it looked like I was an orange light bulb. I was glowing with this thing. $80 with the press. Okay. All right, I will reach out to Jordan to figure out what we got to do to get these ran. And I'll do it today since it's cold outside and people are obviously still interested. It will be limited run. We'll probably only get like 40 or 50 of them. So when they go, they go. Brightest dude in the room, no matter the conditions. Love that. Yeah. All right. So the wife's side, this actually took place a couple of years ago. I had just gotten a brand new job that I was really excited about. So I was delighted when my boss, who I had been trying to establish rapport with, invited me and my husband over to her home for dinner. Well, mostly delighted. My husband is ... Well, ... He's the sweetest, but he has a history of doing really dumb shit. Because of this, I was worried about him coming along. Your husband sounds like the life of a party. Could you imagine sitting at that fucking table and him looking down at his steak, looking at you, looking at his steak, grabbing it, looking at the window, looking at you and going, ha! With no fucking verbal explanation of what's going on. Oh, I'd have fucking died. I would have fucking died. I was out with friends one night and their husband and wife, but they're sitting across the table from each other. And the restaurant that we had this little fucking thing of sour cream, and it was in like a squeezy tube somehow. And she aimed it at him and he looked at it and looked at her and looked at it and looked at her. And she was like, and he went, and she went wham. And it jizzed all over everyone behind him, on his shirt and his hair and his face. And they're fucking dying. And I didn't know what was happening. I looked over as she hit the table and he got fucking painted with it. I can't fucking breathe. I'm dying. The waitresses are like, oh my God, what's going on? Everyone at the table can't catch their fucking breath. The people behind us are fucking livid. And dude, we were in our 30s. Like, this was fucking pure debauchery. But oh my God, was it one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Okay. By the time the day the dinner arrived, I had become so anxious about it that I actually floated the idea by my boss that I wasn't sure if he would be able to make it. She was clearly taken aback and responded, "Oh no, I really hope he can. I have dinner for 3 all ready to go." Upon seeing her dismay, I assured her that I was sure he would find a way to be there. Well, we made it over there to her apartment on time, and things actually started out really well. It was just the 3 of us, which surprised me somewhat, but made me a little less concerned about my husband, as crowds tend to really bring out his unpredictability. I want to be friends with this dude. I had just started to finally relax and was a couple bites into my deliciously cooked steak when things took a horrible, horrible turn. My boss had just stepped into the kitchen to check on dessert when I noticed something odd out of the corner of my eye. It was one of those things where you know something strange is happening in your peripheral, but you're not too sure what, so you have to look over and focus your gaze to really comprehend it. I look over at my husband and I see him holding a steak in his hand, hovering at just an inch or two above his plate before I had a chance to fully comprehend what was happening and seen and verbalize something that might have saved all of us from this coming horror. He threw his steak, baseball style, across the room, straight into the dining room window. It hit the window, making a loud noise, and slowly slid down. This is a full cartoon in my brain right now, guys. Now, my husband does dumb shit. I already told you that. But he's not a crazy person. Usually when he does dumb shit, I at least understand what he's thinking. There's usually some semblance of rhyme or reason to said dumb shit. In this case, I was just dumbfounded. I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't wrap my head around what was going on, and I stared at him with what must have been the most confused look as he watched and stared back at me, an expression of utter horror painted across his face. I couldn't make any sense of what was happening. He thought I was going to go out the window. I couldn't make sense of anything that was happening, but I also didn't have time to try. I heard the footsteps of my boss coming to see what the sound was. It suddenly sunk in that it didn't matter what why he did what he did. He did it, and we were all about to come to face with a very awkward situation. I could feel the anger flush through my face. For a brief moment, I contemplated trying. Her boss told her, the next day her boss said, "Hey, your husband's a fucking moron." Oh man, could you imagine going to work the next day after all this happening and being just like, fuck, there she is. Don't, oh my God, she's looking. Oh my God, she's coming over here. Fuck. And then having that interaction with your boss. Oh. For a brief moment, I contemplated trying to help my husband get out of this. But no, this was his dumb shit bed and he could lie in it. Not like there was any possible recovery anyways. My boss walks in and sees the steak lying on the windowsill. There's the longest, most awkward pause where we all just sit there frozen. My boss and I are staring at my husband, forcing the ball into his court as the cringe just hangs in the air like an ocean fog. I'm willing to bet that the husband wrote this from the wife's purview because this sounds very well written, just like his was, and this is very entertaining. He finally manages to mutter some incoherent garbage about being a klutz and even tries to get me to back him up. I leave his ass out to dry in the deafening silence. In the sound of silence. He makes a poor attempt at cleaning the window and retrieves his steak. Mercifully, my boss asks me a question about work, and we both eagerly dive into conversation. We all resume the rest of the evening pretending that he isn't there, a sort of unspoken agreement by all that this is the only way to move forward. As soon as we got into the car, my husband turned into a nervous chatterbox trying to explain himself. Turns out the dumbass didn't like the way the steak was cooked, and get this, he thought the window was open. My husband, ladies and gentlemen, tried to chuck a steak out a 3-story window he thought was a reasonable solution to being served an undercooked steak. A year or so later, my boss hosted a Christmas party for the company at her newly built home. My best friend Jenny was my number one. That's funny. You should have brought the husband and been and told your boss to make sure the windows were open. What would have happened? How would this have actually worked, right? In the event that she had came back in and that steak was gone. It would only have been a matter of a minute. Like, you'd be like, oh man, that was so good. Like, oh my God. Edit. Okay, guys, I probably overplayed the dumb shit angle. Yeah, he's known for acting without thinking things through, but this one moment does not represent the norm. You know what? I'm not gonna read your first edit because it's funny, and I don't think that this is making your husband look bad. This is typical husband and wife shit. If I was one of those people that you never knew what you were going to get out of me, and my wife thought that shit was funny, I would run with it. Edit 2, my husband is not on the spectrum or crazy, although I get that it might seem like a valid conclusion if all you know is this one event. The usual dumb shit is more of your everyday impulsiveness, like immediately saying a slightly inappropriate thing that comes to mind. If he would have done that, it wouldn't have shocked me at all. This, of course, shocked me because he normally doesn't do things that make him look insane. I say dumb shit all the time. The moment it comes to my mind, especially inappropriate shit, especially to my woman. You know what? Let me go back to the chat so you guys can I can see what you guys are talking about. There was imagine being hit with a steak walking down the road from the 3rd floor, right? And if this was a good, like, heavy steak, like a 16-ounce steak, you get a concussion. I know on the first season of the podcast, there was some raunchiness with her and I. What you guys didn't see in the first episode of the podcast is that those 2 to 3 hour episodes were like 6 hours long because we would get talking and flirting and inappropriateness would happen. And like, my wife has auditory things. So like when her headphones are on and I'm talking into a microphone, I can really, really fuck with my wife. And so like what would be like a normal thing that you guys are watching of just like innocent flirtiness was like hours of torture and then playtime. I know that we cut a lot of that stuff out of the podcast now because we are more of a professional thing. And even though we still do flirt and that's a thing, we dial that shit down so much. You guys don't understand how inappropriate I am with my woman. Like there is that whole treat her like a woman in the streets, but a whore in the sheets. I will treat her like a woman all the time because she is a goddess of a woman, but I'm also going to be an inappropriate, nasty motherfucker because that's my goddess of a woman. All right, let's check on the chat. Dude, I just fell out of my chair. The visualizations of this is a lot. I can't breathe. She did not understand the assignment. Nope, she left his ass out to dry. Imagine the people on the street when it started raining steak. So happy to see Chris cover the Dokudo. Favorite series of this channel so far. Thank you for that, Celtic King. I really appreciate that. I recorded episode 8, Principle 8. I recorded that twice this morning because I made it all the way through the first 35 minutes and realized that I didn't turn record on anything. And I was live in front of Discord and I was like, well, I can just use the Zoom thing or OBS thing because it did technically record that. And they were like, fucking run it again. And I'm like, okay. And I recorded it twice. So, I appreciate the feedback on that. I hope that those principles are informative for you guys. It's very hard for me to not conduct all of my content that I make on my own and our content around relationships or simply around being a good man. And I think that I lean so heavy into both of those things because for a long time in my life, I was not a good man. I was not a good husband and I wasn't a good father. And now that I have the formula and I believe that I'm living it the way that a good man, good father and good husband is supposed to live, I want to lead other people in that direction. So anytime I do anything like the Hermetic Principles, the Dokudo, just having random thoughts, I do tend to tie everything back to relationships and what it means to be a good man or a good human. So hearing that you guys are getting a lot of value from that really feels good to me. I get up every morning at between 4 and 5 o'clock, prepare the document, sit down and record. Somebody said I would die if I got a concussion from a steak. I mean, you could have died from the steak. It's funny. All right, this one's called Doctors, Doctors, Nurses, Redditors. What has been your most gory, disgusting, or worst medical experience? I have a story, and I have to, this might get the fucking YouTube cut off, guys. If for some reason YouTube got cut off because of my stories, I will just start a new live and we'll go to Patreon, because, you know, people won't report that. Mine would have to be when I volunteered as a nursing assistant at the local hospital. On the first day I was there, I was asked if I'd like to assist in a bathing of an elderly patient. I was told he was near a comatose, riddled with cancer, and was on death's door. I agreed, but nothing could prepare me for the sight of him. His pallid skin was stretched over his bones, and his eyes were dull and staring. Most of his skin was purple, and his blood vessels were ruptured. He couldn't even speak and screamed when myself and the other nurse had to roll him over. He was constantly injected with morphine because of the pain. 2 days later, why did you put this on here? This isn't funny. This is horrible. I decided the medical profession wasn't for me. Yeah, I believe that. That sucks. Well, that just killed a vibe. Don't like that. All right, this one's about mushrooms, but I'm gonna tell a story about gross things, and I'm forewarning you guys that it's gross. Like, it's gross. How many people are in the chat? 62. Okay. I'm giving you guys a minute. If you guys are squeamish, if you don't want to hear anything that has to do with any bodily fluid or anything like that, I would stop listening to this. I'd come back in like 10 minutes, 5 minutes. This is a quick story, but so I have been in the tattoo industry since 1997 in one form or another. I spent the first portion of my career as only a body piercer. That was my passion. I did tongue splitting, branding, scarifications, flesh removal. I helped with implants. I've helped people do transcrotals. I've done, I have split people, men. I've split their, I'm trying not to get kicked off of here. So I have done a lot, and, you know, you get to the point where like nothing really bothers you anymore. Blood doesn't bother you. When people get infections, pus doesn't bother you. Like, you just kind of, it's just normal day-to-day shit. This is my job. And, I got to the point where like everything was just in and out, because body piercing after doing all of that was such a normal thing. Like, it just wasn't a big deal. And I had this dude come in, he had to have been in his 50s, fucking flaming guy. Like, he was one of the most flamboyant people I've ever met in my life. Dude should carry a fire extinguisher next to him. That's like that flamboyant. And he was one of the coolest people. Dude was a fucking riot. Oh my God, was he a riot. And he would make everyone uncomfortable all the time, which I thoroughly fucking enjoy. Well, he comes in and he tells me he wants a Prince Albert. This is getting gross. You've been warned. And no big deal. You know, I've done a ton of dick piercings in my life. It's just another day at the job, right? And we go back there and we're having a conversation, and like, there's a procedure to doing these things, male or female, because asking somebody to take their clothes off is an uncomfortable thing. So I always move my tray over. I turn my back to the customer, and I fucking start setting up my tray, and I'm going over aftercare and how they're going to have to take care of it and what the process is going to be and all that shit. I have them get undressed. I lay them down. I have to put a bib around just in case there's blood. Like, there's a whole process to doing the piercing. And I explained to him that I had a receiving tube that I had to put into his urethra, so that when I pierce into the bottom of the head, it comes through the receiving tube and doesn't hit anything it's not supposed to. And he's like, okay. He's like, I'm nervous. This is going to hurt. And I was like, I mean, it's going to pinch. I actually, anytime anybody has ever said anything in the tattoo shop about hurting, my response has always been, it's like a blowjob with teeth that hurts, but not enough to say stop. Anyways, so that was my actual response. We had a good laugh about it. And the whole time I'm holding the fucking head of his dick, getting ready to stick this receiving tube in there. And I was like, all right, I lubed it up and I was like, I'm going to go ahead and stick this in there. And he was like, okay. And like, I felt him start to tense before I did anything. And before the receiving tube made it into position, he fucking came. And it wasn't like like there was no buildup. It was just like, and like Matrix. I was like, bro, if that hit me, I'd have fucking killed you. And he's like, I had no idea that was possible. What the fuck, right? And we had a whole little conversation about urethral play and sounding and all of that shit. And I did his piercing, told him no sex for the aftercare for a while. I was like, look, you're going to be tempted to play with yourself. If you feel the need to do that, just be aware there might be some blood. We go over the whole aftercare process. Dude comes back in here like a month and a half later, and like he stretched his piercing out massive. And he was like, can you look at it? I got a bunch of scar tissue and I'm having a hard time stretching it. I was like, bro, that's one of those things that when it's ready, it'll just go. And like, I was not prepared for how large he had actually stretched his Prince Albert. And when he went back there and took his pants off, I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, you did that thing with the receiving tube, and now I'm addicted to sound play, and like this just gets me going all day long. And I was like, this is not information that I needed to fucking hear from my client, dude. Like, he almost shot, like, I swear to God, it was like slow motion. It was so bad. Yep. You guys want to hear a story about Sean? My best friend Sean, that I love to death. I told you guys it was going to get gross. I fucking warned all of you. The fact that you guys are bothered by this, you had ample opportunity to get away from that. And if you just got here, sucks to suck. Is that hair gel? So when I first moved to Port Charlotte, Sean was working in a kitchen. I gotta be honest, I don't even think Sean was 21 yet. Like he was younger than me, but this was MySpace days, right? He really wanted to become a body piercer. And like I went to the restaurant where he worked and I met him, and like I was looking for an apprentice, and we kind of hit it off and we became really good friends. 26 years later, he's my best friend still, but he wanted extreme modifications. I split his tongue, a whole bunch of piercings in his face. Like we dermal punches. I scalpeled his ears to 2 inches, like all kinds of crazy hardcore modifications on Sean. Well, he wanted surface anchors or surface piercings in his forearm in the shape of a star. And doing patterns is not hard. It's really easy to be able to like manipulate that to do crosses and stars and fun little designs. They mostly reject. Like it's not something that you would even keep in your forearm for very long. But he was insistent. And I was like, dude, you work in a kitchen. I was like, you're not in a kitchen in a long sleeve shirt. It's in Florida. We're in Florida. Like you're going to be back there sweating. The amount of grease and grossness that touches your arms that you're unaware of. Like this is going to get infected. It's a really bad idea. I love you. I'm not willing to do it. Well, he went to another body piercer, a town away from us, that was not as concerned about the client as I was, and did the piercings. Like a month and a half later, Sean's like, hey, bro, I need to come down. I was like, okay. He's like, I need you to take out some piercings. I'm like, what do you mean you need to take out some piercings? Like, are you having issues? Like, what's going on? Because I'm trying to diagnose, because I'm his body piercer. And he's like, I'll just show you when I get there. When I tell you that his forearm was bigger than his upper arm, I'm not kidding. And these bars had a 1/4 inch rise on them, which is a lot. We normally do like 330 seconds. This was a lot of rise, and it was pulling the balls into his skin. And I glove up, I put a mask on, and I start taking the balls off, and like I'm getting ready to pull all the shit out, knowing that I'm going to have to milk his arm because there's obviously pus in there that we want to try to get out of his arm. This is going to get gross. This will be the last gross story I tell, and then we're going to get back to this Reddit thing. So you guys want to come back in like 2 minutes, or the chat will let you know. This is your fucking warning. So I take these things off, and I use some hemostats to pull the fucking bars out of there, and I'm milking his arm. And I don't know if any of you have ever popped a boil, the way that pus is like a creamy, bloody thing. Well, because of him working in the kitchen, that was in, all that grease was in there, and like it festered in his arm. And I was one of those people that I was never bothered by anything. There had never been a moment where I had seen something that I was like, ugh. Never. The smell of what came out of his arm made me fucking gag. And to this day, I can't do mucus, I can't do pus, and I can't do smell. It smelled like rotting flesh. If you guys have, oh my God, it was so fucking gross. So gross. I can't watch Dr. Pimple Popper either. Nope. I thought about being a piercer. Maybe I'm second guessing that now. Those are the rare things that come in. Being a body piercer, if you can find a good shop, you can make $1,000 a week as a body piercer easy. It's really good money as long as you're in a good studio with a good client base and good jewelry. Jenny said you cannot gross me out. That's funny. You guys can let them know that we're done and they can unmute. It technically was rotting flesh. Yeah, it was. That person definitely just pierced them for the money. They actually did it for the portfolio photo. The guy was trying to steal Sean as my client to get him to go to him, and wanted the portfolio photo to try to compete with my portfolio because I'd done a whole bunch of crazy projects. Super chat, $5. Just wanted to say I love the channel. Truly pumped to meet you guys someday. Thank you for helping make the world a better place. Fun story, LOL. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate the super chat. I really appreciate the community, guys. I know we talk about all the time about how much you guys have changed our lives. I don't think that you understand the capacity of it. I have, other than Sean and Jeff Graham, every real life friend I have is somebody that I met through our community. We found our tribe because of you guys, and it's changed our life. So as much as you guys think we're making change in your world, you're doing it for us too. So thank you for being here. All right, this one's called Today I Fucked Up. Secretly eating mushrooms while my wife was asleep in a house full of cats. Okay, this is somewhat long. I have to preface this by letting you guys know that I took my medicine today, and it was a little bit more than I should have took. So if I'm giggling and I can't catch my breath, or this is not as funny as I think it is, you just have to bear with me. This happened a good long while ago, so not really today. It was April when I started this journey. During the winter, I became a member of a magic mushroom forum and was learning all I could about growing. I tried it once before and grew a yellowish greenish mush that smelled like sweaty socks, but this time it would be different. I had a spore print sent to me and was off to the races. You had mold is what you had. Man, I can't wait. Guys, I know that we've talked about this a lot, but when we get our church finalized and we have our papers filed and we are officially a church, I can have all the conversations I want about growing, giving information. We could create a whole other fucking Discord like that solely for members of the church, so that other people could take this journey and go with it on their own. I am so fucking excited for all of that shit. Sounds like trike. It does, except for trike is green. I've never actually seen it yellow. I have seen yellow. Oh, yellowish green. I have seen yellow mold, but green is trike. And if you guys grow, you know that trike is one of those things that when it happens, you have to disinfect everything. It'll get in your air conditioner. It'll get into your fucking carpet. Like if you're growing, you need to make sure that you have smooth walls that can be cleaned. And your tents have to be pulled out. Anything that you got growing's got to get thrown away. Like it is a whole ass thing. I'm so excited for that exclamation point. I entertained the chat during the end of the Prince Albert story. I really like, I have a passion for that shit. And like, I know that there are a lot of people that are going the church route just so that they can be able to do drugs. And I promise you, that's just not what it is for me. Like I have a spiritual connection to this shit. So anyways, back to the chat. I had tried mushrooms once before, about 10 years ago. Prior to that experience was rather 10 years prior. And that experience was rather enjoyable. I've had way too many bad experiences with other compounds to ever think about trying it. And from what I remember, the mushroom experience was much less dramatic or chaotic. And harsh for me the way that the majority of the other trips that I had taken had been. He was talking about chemical compounds and not organic compounds, guys. I just don't want to keep naming off things that could get us kicked off the Discord or the live. After following every tip I could gather, about a month and a half of waiting, I have a viable mushroom drying. A viable mushroom. Oh, mushrooms. You have viable mushrooms. It sounded like you only had one. I was like, you didn't do a very good job if you only had one. Although you can grow some big motherfuckers that is enough weight that you could have you and all of your friends go on it. Papa Fletch, thank you guys. Y'all helped save my marriage. I owe you. Well, the super chat's a great way of saying thank you. I really appreciate that. You could also share our content. If you guys want to fucking make sure the channel continues to grow, share. It doesn't cost you anything and it fucking helps us more than you know. We are on the road to 300,000. We are 50,000 away from 300,000. So that's the goal for 2026. I would like to wrap up this year 50,000 followers from where we are right now. On a fun note, I am part of the 500 gram club. I have grown a single fruiting body that has been over 500 grams before I dehydrated it. Okay. The whole journey from sport to fruit was done for reasons I don't yet have a grasp on. I was thinking at the time that growing would impart some spiritual meaning into my experience. If you were not taking this for a drug experience, it would have. This is intentions, right? As I was doing this in the past, I never was out there jamming out to death metal while tending to my substrate, or while I was inoculating things. Like, I actually pray over the things that I'm doing because I know that eventually someone's going to ingest this shit, and I want their experience to be one of love and understanding and guidance. So I'm sorry that you took the growing experience and thought it was going to do something for you that you weren't ready for. It had been a long time since I had taken any illegal substance, and I wanted it to be special in some way. Growing them myself was an attempt at providing that, I guess. It should have been something, dude. That's a big deal. The night I took them, I really wasn't planning on doing so. I was bored out of my wits and chatting with online friends. I told them I was going to eat mushrooms, but didn't know how much to eat without a scale. I took a few pics of my intended dose and posted them, and immediately got advice to cut the dose in half. Get a scale. Rule number 1 of taking mushrooms: own a scale. Oh my God. So I cut that dose in half. So with my wife asleep, I went to the kitchen, made a concoction of purple slushy and powdered mushrooms, and gulped it down. I came back up and told the chatters that the deed was done, and that I was going to take and I was taking a shower, and I would be back once the fun started. In the shower, about 5 minutes, when I felt a rush, like a consciousness was being pulled away from me. How long was it between he drank that and got in the shower? Because even when you make it into a drink, it still takes time to process. So this is either full of shit or he's not honest with the time frame. I was fighting to keep it with me. It felt as though I had let it fly away. I would have had a full out of body experience, but for some reason I felt compelled to hold on to it. I quickly turned off the water and I looked down at my feet. They seemed miles away. That is when it hit me that the things were kicking in. All right. Own a scale, he says. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Out of the shower, and I put the same clothes on that I came in with and headed upstairs. The shower is in the basement of the house, and there is a door at the top of the stairs. Opening the door, the light from the kitchen blasted my eyes, and I got a good gauge of how far along in the experience I was. I would see that the kitchen floor looked smooth and liquid-like texture, but before I could survey any more, my black cat ran down into the basement. I didn't want to forget about him down there, and it never really thought that I could just leave the door open and shoo any members out of our herd that wandered down there after my trip. Okay. Caroline, thanks for the super chat. Keep up the brilliant work. So much respect to you and Peach. Excited for the future of your Reach Church and show in general. Thank you for that. Thank you. Super chats are the shit. You guys make me feel good when those things come through. It's like I'm doing something other than just sitting here reading shit that you could be reading by yourself. I trudged down the stairs after him and scooped him up and started back up the stairs. Halfway up, a brown blur flew down the stairs. As another cat dove into the basement, I tossed the black one into the kitchen and went after the brown one. While I was picking up the brown one, the black cat came back down the steps again, and I scooped him up too. Now I'm carrying 2 cats up the stairs. At the top of the stairs, the door is wide open, and I see our other 3 cats had come to investigate the commotion. As I had made the final push to the top, they all jumped into action like they had planned it in advance. I started laughing hysterically, let go of the 2 cats in my arms, and sat at the top of the steps as I watched all of the cats bounce down the stairs. I found the whole situation so funny. Here I am coming up hard on mushrooms, and I can feel the confusion building every second, and now I have to figure out a way of getting all 5 cats out of the basement. Oh man, I believe that when you take a big enough dose, you can share consciousness, not just with other people, but with other things. And them cats knew you were fucked up, and they were fucking with you. By the time I had collected myself and devised a plan, my face was hot, and objects were starting to move. The time dilation had manifested, and minutes were starting to take longer and longer. My plan was to go down and capture one cat at a time and usher them upstairs. Once I got to 5, the task would be complete. Super chat. Jenny said, "You will hit 500,000 this year. I speak this into life. I shall have all optimism for us. LOL." Man, could you imagine? Could you imagine hitting 500,000 followers? That's crazy. I know that we have 1.4 million on TikTok, but TikTok don't mean shit to me. Like we're 414,000 currently on Instagram, and that's been a fucking grind. Where are we at on Instagram? Yep, 414,000. And we get spurts where we have like a video will blow up, and we'll go from like, we went from like 390 to 410 really fast, and now it's crawling again. But getting followers and subscribers on YouTube is substantially harder for us than it is for on TikTok, because of the people want the quick interactions. They don't want to watch the whole podcast. Thank you for the super chat, Jenny. It means a lot. I really appreciate that shit. If you hit 500K and have a live, I shall hide in the closet and ignore all electronics. Okay. Once I got to 5, the task would be complete. I raced down. I grabbed the first cat I came across, ran to the top, landing and tossing it pretty forcefully up the last 3 steps into the kitchen so it would get the point that I didn't want them down there. Back down I went and did the same thing. That's 2 down, 3 to go. I was getting more confused by the minute, and on the 4th cat, I had forgot how many cats I had previously ushered up the stairs. On my way back down, I decided to count the cats downstairs, and that would let me know how many were upstairs. Unfortunately, the whole time I had neglected one key detail in my foolproof plan. The door was still open. Just as I reached the basement floor, the whole herd came stampeding down again. Plan A was an utter failure. Formulated just as quickly as Plan A was Plan B. Cats have got names, right? I will count the cats as I bring them up and remember the name of each cat so that I don't lose track like last time. Brilliant. I thump back down the stairs, grab Funchy, the black one. I take him upstairs. He quickly tries to run back down. I push him back and close the door. Back downstairs, I grab another one, cat. Sammy, number 2. I think as I put her upstairs and close the door behind me. At this point, my mind is worn out. Things are moving very well, and walls have waves to them and on them. It is all but impossible to keep my mind on the task at hand. I have been there. Those 2 things, coupled with the fact that time dilation is making the last 5 minutes chasing these beasts feel like I've been at it for hours. It's making this fool's errand about as much as my brain can handle in its current state. I trudge on trying to complete this task as I grab another cat, but again at the top of the stairs, I forgot where I was in the order. I put the cat upstairs and tried to count the cats there to give me an idea of how many were left, but of course, they are not in the kitchen anymore. And again, it escapes me that if I just kept bringing the cats up until I run out of cats to retrieve, I will be through with this clusterfuck. Oh, man. Unable to think past my current predicament, I race around upstairs looking for the cats that had been brought up, and they were nowhere to be found. My state had grown worse and worse, and I start thinking that maybe they all got outside, but there was no way that they could get outside because no one opened the door. The door! I forgot to close the basement door. Fuck. Oh my God. I ran back into the kitchen and down the stairs for the 50 quadrillionth time, and bam, there they were, all 5 of them, safe and sound. I had found the missing cats, hallelujah. They weren't outside. My wife would have killed me if they were gone. Why do you have 5 cats, man? That's excessive. Me, all high and shit, and the cats go missing. I might as well pack my shit and go. What a relief. I love my kitties. Kiss, kiss, kiss. Wait, why are they still in the basement? Fucking cocksucking son of a bitch, fucking cussing. I am done. My mental ability is gone. Each tripping up and down felt like an eternity. I had only just enough energy left to get upstairs to the couch. I kneel by the couch and think, what am I going to do? I am mentally exhausted because apparently counting to 5 is impossible while on mushrooms. My mind racing to come up with a solution to this impossible problem, and never once did I think of just leaving them down there until they found something more entertaining to do than drive me out of my fucking mind. The white flag was up. It was over. I needed the big gun. It was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had to get up and go to work in the morning, but I had no choice. I needed an adult. I have to wake my wife up. She would make it all better. She will tame those damn hellions, and I will be fine. But it wasn't fine. Oh my God. Could you imagine having to wake up your wife and admit the failure of what's happening? Babe, I overindulged. The cats are out to get me. I've ran up and down the stairs 1,000 times, and every time I get up there, there's more cats in the fucking basement. What do I do? All right. And only to have her roll over and be like, they're in the fucking basement. Who gives a shit? Go to bed. Leave me alone. I'm sleeping. That's funny. I went upstairs to our room and I woke her in the gentlest way possible by jumping on the bed and yelling, help. I took mushrooms. 5 cats in the basement and I can only count to 4. Not the way I had envisioned it going down in my head, but I was happy to get that much out with forgetting the reason I woke her up in the first place. Sleepily, she marched down the stairs, and I led her to the kitchen where the basement door was still wide open. All I could do was stand at the door and point down the stairs. I think I might have whimpered a little bit too much with my gesture. She was not amused. I thought I was finally going to get closure. She would get the cats from the basement, and I would be saved, but no. My savior turned into my tormentor as she said the only words in the world that could crush me into an even more pitiful state. Well, go get him, she said. She didn't understand that I was fighting this fight for what seemed like days and now wanted nothing more than to curl up in a corner and cry until I fell asleep. Oh, fuck me. She had no clue how close I was to a breakdown. Have you guys seen that TikTok of the guys on the beach tripping and there's dolphins and the guy's like, dude, there's dolphin. It's so pretty. And the guy looks over to his friend and his friend's fucking sobbing. Oh my God. Tears welled up as I crossed the threshold of the basement door and descended into my personal hell. You know that he down the fucking stairs. I scooped up a kitty and carried it slowly upstairs, setting it on the kitchen floor. 1, my wife said in a long, drawn-out voice, like she was talking to a 2-year-old. Back down I went to grab another bundle of joy and slinked up the stairs, only to be shamed again by a long, drawn-out 2. By the 3rd cat, short, audible poo-poo sounds were coming from me as I was almost to the breaking point. My wife had begun to laugh at me, and she seemed to laugh harder each time I came up, even more beaten than before. And when the last cat came up, she greeted by sighing 5. And now was that so hard? I tried to apologize, but she waved me off with a stern, "We'll talk about this in the morning," and walked back upstairs to bed. I hope you closed the door. The cat ordeal was over, but the trip was far from it. I was immensely grateful to my online buddies who talked me into halving the dose because the rest of the night was filled with confusion and mindfuckery. If you would have taken the full dose, you wouldn't have given a shit about the cats. And intense time dilation. Not really a bad trip as bad trips go, but not at all enjoyable. I think I can cross mushies off the list of viable boredom relievers. You went into that as a whim. This is why this is why I tell people all the time that this is not a drug. It's not. This is a sacred sacrament. This is medicine. This is given to us by the source so that we can commune with the source. And I understand that we're able to synthesize these things now and we can make it just like we make other synthetic things. But the spirit of the mushroom is still there even in synthetic psilocybin. Maria Sabina said as much. Anyways, I think I can cross. I said that already. I won't be doing them again anytime soon, and that's for sure. Update. Wow. Made the front page, got gold. Today was a good day. Thank you for the gold, whoever you are. I'm at work, and we'll get to the few questions when I get home. The best part is seeing all the comments of people who can relate. Update 2. Okay, first things first, I have 6 cats. and now 6 cats now and 2 large dogs. My wife is a vet tech and was coming home with a new animal every 6 months to a year. Every time a kitten's mother got hit by a car, I got a sob story and a new cat. Now I think she hit her limit, seeing that we have 2 litter boxes and hold 40 pounds of litter each, and she's cleaning them out twice a day. I told her that she's heading into crazy cat lady status, and she stopped collecting them, but I really think that if I didn't say something that I would be swimming in cats right now, she has a problem. Next, as to why I didn't just leave the cats down there, I was incapable of looking past the task at hand. I was hyper-focused on getting the cats out of the basement because of the effects of the mushrooms. I have been stuck in those loops. The amount of times that I've just simply tried to change the music and all I'm doing is staring at my phone, unsure of how to operate my phone, trying to figure out what's going on. It's fucking real. Last time Peaches and I, we had a bunch of friends come down and we all journeyed together. I somehow ended up with someone else's phone and was trying to change the music through their Instagram page. And Peaches was like, babe, that's not your phone. I was like, oh, but I'm just trying to change the music. And she's like, it's not your phone. Put it down. You're on someone's Instagram. And I was like, oh shit. Yep. Under normal circumstances, I would have been able to get them up there just by shaking their treats or chasing them with a spray bottle or just left them down there with the door open. Unfortunately, I couldn't even consider any other options. That was my job and it had to be done. The mushroom gods had spoken. The people giving me advice on how to have a good trip, you make the mistake that most drug users do. You assume that I'm a novice at insert drug here and just needed your guidance. Let me assure you, my drug dick is bigger than most. Why would you go to a comparison thing? It sounds to me like you've never actually had an ego death. So maybe you do need some advice here, brother. Podcast Awaken the Woman I Am Supposed to Be. Check and Save My Marriage. Your book saved my sanity. The Discord continuously changes my life. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, guys. I really appreciate it. This dude has never had an ego death. And if he did have an ego death, all of that dick comparison shit wouldn't be there. The number of different substances that I have taken is quite extensive. My other trips are in the 50 plus range, and I've given some advice to other people countless times. Sometimes you just say, fuck it, eat the shit. Sometimes it goes good and sometimes it's bad. For me, the majority of my 3-letter chemical compound experiences were tough to get through. Oh, yeah, I mean, that can definitely be the case. So much so that there were thoughts of, so much so that the mere thought of taking it again gives me anxiety. I will not be taking it again. So feel free to eat my share along with yours. I wouldn't say I'm 100% done with mushrooms, but given their effects that are similar to the 3-letter chemical compound, the stars would have to align perfectly that having another psilocybin experience was the only practical option in that moment. It will be only once in a lifetime event, so the chances are next to none that I will ever eat them again. That was very entertaining to read. That was funny. All right, let me pull up another one and then I'll interact with the chat a little bit. This one's an edible one. Okay, love that. Oops, wrong one. Let's go back to this. See what the chat's doing. Thank you for the super chats, guys. Used to do things like this as a younger person, but not anymore. The experience is so different as an adult. Absolutely. You have to be very intentional with stuff like that. Absolutely. I still take medicine, just not the same intent as I did as a teen. Well, you don't understand it. So I took, oh my God, my first psychedelic experience, I was 12 years old. My girlfriend at the time had gotten some off of her older brother who was like 19 years old, and she got like 3 hits. It was white blotter paper. And I took a hit, she took a hit, and we were at her house. It was like 5 o'clock. I had no idea that it was going to last for 12 hours. And at the time, I was living with my adopted family who also didn't know that I was doing this. And we're at her house and like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rolls around. And finally her mom comes in and is like, hey, he needs to leave. And we're in there fucking giggling and shit, tripping nuts. First time I had ever experienced anything like this. And I had to walk home, and it was like a 3-mile walk to get to my adopted family's house. And during that walk, I had to walk down roads that had big retention ditches on both sides. That was a really big thing for water moving back in the day. And no streetlights. So I'm walking in pitch black dark with woods around me and fucking big culvert ditches. And the amount of crazy things that I experienced while walking home only to get to where I was going and realized that there was only one person in the house awake, thankfully, because I was so fucked up that I couldn't I was, what do I do? Like, am I being too loud? The paranoia was so fucking real. And I watched the movie The Aristocrats back to back. I watched it twice. The first time I watched it and didn't remember hearing anything of the movie. And I was like, was the TV muted? And the one of the kids were like, no, it was on. And I was like, I didn't hear anything. I was just so enamored in the visuals. And then we watched it again. And then I started coming down, and the sun was coming up. It was a whole ass experience. I don't think that people who are under 18 years old should be fucking with psychedelics. There's a whole lot of inconsistencies with our brain and development patterns that should be starting. And knowing my mental health status when I was a teenager, I certainly should not have been taking psychedelics, because at that point I had already been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And at one point I had a stint in a mental institution for audible schizophrenia. So like I had a slew of like, don't do that. And like, luckily at the time I wasn't on lithium, because certain psychedelics and lithium can make you have seizures. Whole lot of things that like people don't think about as a kid. I don't recommend teenagers fuck with this shit at all. And I absolutely think that if you're going to do these things, that it shouldn't be a party thing. It should be with an intention to commune or connect. Because if you have never had a real spiritual experience and you have one in a fucked up situation, it can ruin your life. I used to do body suspension where you hang from hooks, like in your chest or your back or your knees. And I had a spiritual experience while up on hooks, and I came down, and I haven't suspended since, because I didn't realize that could be a thing. After that happened, I did a whole bunch of research and found out that native tribes actually do something called an Okepa suspension, where they pierce their chest with something, and then tie a string through it and attach it to a cottonwood tree and pull on it until either the branch breaks, the string breaks, or their skin gives. And then they do the suspension, and they stay there until they have visions. And not knowing that, just thinking that it was a cool body modification, things that all my friends were doing, when I had that spiritual experience, it fucked me up. Let's see what we got going on over here. All right. Back to the chat. Hate to say it, but I took mine today solely for the giggles. I needed a happy day today. It also helped my achy body after painting. Love that. Oh my God, I did the same thing with Dave when we first met, and we woke up on the couch to see a note from his mom. We needed to talk. This is unacceptable. I was mortified. Oh man. I tried to change the music on those once and started laughing so hard because I couldn't see my screen because it wouldn't stop moving, and stared at my phone for an hour. I really try not to fuck with technology when I'm in it. And it sucks because when Peaches and I take other four-letter chemical compounds, you guys can put this together if you are smart enough, and we spend time together to counsel each other and reconnect on a soul level, it's my responsibility to deal with the technology and the phone. And there have been many times where she's like, what are you doing? You're stressing me out so much. I was like, I'm just trying to find a song to put on. You get lost. It's wild. Last time I did those where it actually hit was during the Guitar Hero days. Oh, that would be wild. I love what microdosing has done for my mental and spiritual health. Fuck yeah. Yep. I had a conversation with embers in a fire, not the fire, but the embers. I didn't believe the dude when he says it lasts 8 to 10 hours. I went to work still tripping at 19, wearing sunglasses at 6:30 in the morning. I actually had an experience once where I took a bunch of shit and had to go to work the next morning without sleep. And because I didn't give my brain the opportunity to shut down and like reset, I had visuals all day long. It literally lasted until the next night when I went to bed. And that was fucked up because it messed with all of my senses of taste, smell, all of it was fucked up. But that was a 3-letter chemical compound, not a mushroom. I had a friend that also didn't come back. It's hard when that happens. I don't know anybody. Wait a minute. Where was the first part of that? I had a friend who went into a trip and never came out. I've never actually met anybody that never came back. I know people that have changed. But I personally believe that eternal trip is a falsehood. It's not real. I do know that it can absolutely alter your identity. It can change the way that you view the world, and it can make you very strange because of the experience and you not integrating it properly. But that's a different conversation than being on a permanent trip. All right, back to Reddit. Today I fucked up by stuffing my face with edibles before dinner and my wife's parents. Oh, with my wife's parents. Oh my God. I was like, oh my God, you ate edibles and your wife's parents? Yeah. Okay. Recently I traveled. Now I'm the Swedish Muppet. Where's Peaches when you need her? I recently traveled to Denver, Colorado with my wife and my wife's parents. As a resident of a non-legalized state and as someone who is too much of a pussy to regularly buy illegal drugs, the thing I was looking forward to most was the chance to buy fancy legal cannabis. What could possibly go wrong? I can tell you what could go wrong. So the first thing I do upon arriving and after successfully ditching the in-laws is drag my wife to a nearby dispensary for a shopping spree. And oh my God, it was just like in my dreams. Tons of different options and neat little sample jars, a team of helpful stoners walking me through the various strains. Are you looking for a mellow body high? Or are you looking for something that gives you a bit more of a pep and energy? Or are you just looking, or are you just hoping for something that like might take a little bit of the stress off? Yes, yes, and yes. I reply eagerly like a fat kid in a candy store and request 1/8 of an ounce, about 7 different options. In hindsight, if I had learned anything from this experience is that my math and science teachers never taught me basic information like what is an ounce or how much weed can a person consume in a single weekend. Sure, I can tell you that when two speeding trains leave separate stations, they will collide or recite Avogadro's number, but it turns out that none of that information is particularly relevant to getting high in a responsible or efficient manner. How do you not know how much is in an ounce? Like, this is basic weights and measurements. 7th grade education. And I knew, well, I mean, I also sold drugs. I knew that though before I started doing that. Like, it helped me become a more efficient weigher. All right. And it was at this dispensary that I also learned that you can actually smoke in public places, including the hotel that my wife and I were staying at. As a result, before leaving, I begged my wife to buy some edibles that I could munch on until we found a place to get properly lit. After expressing shock as to the absurd volume of drugs that we were buying, unlike me, she is a product of a private school and understands the imperial measurement system. She relents, and we walk out of the store with what felt like a dump truck of weed plus a small package of seemingly innocuous ginger snap cookies. Okay, my hotness just texted me, so you guys have to wait because she's more important than everything. Okay. I'm a ginger snap. Technically, I am too. Technically, Peaches is also a ginger, so when I go down on her, it's cannibalism. All right. Probably too much information, but it's funny to me, so fuck it. When we finally got back to the hotel room, I tear those bad boys open. You guys remind me to tell you about the first time I took Peaches to Vegas and we hit the dispensary. I tear those little bad boys open only to find about a dozen tiny cookies roughly the size of a quarter. What the fuck, Denver? Seeing the skepticism and hunger in my eyes, my wife warns me that I should go easy and look at the back of the package before trying one. Dose size, half a cookie. I read silently as I start taking micro bites from the edges, like a giant chinchilla gnawing at a sunflower seed. But what kind of savage only eats half of a cookie? So a second later, I covertly pop the remainder into my mouth. And then I quickly stuff another 2 cookies into my mouth for good measure. Oh man, the moment my wife turns her back, We may not have legal weed back home, but I routinely devour an entire package of Milanos in one sitting without breaking a sweat. Your move, Ginger Snaps. Your move, Tiny Ginger Snaps. That's funny. About 30 minutes later, we are in the backseat of her parents' rental car on the way to dinner, and that's when things start to go tits up. My stomach growls loudly and angrily. My wife looks at me with inquisitive eyes that seem to say diarrhea, but I merely clutch my tummy and mumble something about altitude sickness. You didn't eat a whole cookie, did you? She asks, 10% genuine concern, 90% seething irritation. Of course not, I respond, avoiding eye contact for the remainder of the car ride. I gotta blow my nose. Give me 1 second, guys. Stood up too fast. My check engine light came on, and then I blew my nose, and it came on even harder. Holy shit. All right. A few minutes later, we are climbing out of her parents' rental car and heading into some trendy farm-to-table restaurant. I don't remember how I made it to my seat, and I don't remember even looking at the menu, but I do remember the concerned look on the waiter's face as he asked me if I was doing all right. Keep it together, man, I say to myself, but my wife's sudden groan suggests that I may have also said that to the waiter. Things are going downhill fast. The waiter nods sympathetically, takes our orders, and then heads to the next table. Keep it together, man. That's some fucking full-on Hunter S. Thompson thing. Keep it together, man. The moment he walks away, my wife is staring daggers at me. I start to worry that the jig is up. You are sweating from your entire face, she says with both pity and disgust. Not quite knowing what to do, I reach for my napkin and proceed to blot my cheeks, nose, neck, chin, and forehead. At this point, my wife's mom looks over at me with some concern. Are you all right? She asks kindly. Yeah, the food's just a bit spicy, I reply, far too quick to realize that we had literally just ordered and there was nothing on the table except a basket of dinner rolls. My wife kicks me under the table to grab my attention. Bathroom, now, she hisses. Get it together. I reluctantly get up, go from the table, and head to the toilet. After splashing several handfuls of water on my face, I approach to the urinal and start to pee. Now, one of the more disconcerting effects of those tiny ginger snap monsters is feeling at the time, is the feeling that time has become untethered from reality. As I am peeing, I start to get the very unsettling feeling that I have been taking a piss for the better part of an hour and that my wife must be pacing around the restaurant worried about me. I swear to God, I go through this. The time thing fucks with me so hard when I'm fucked up. But deep down, I know that's absurd. I've been peeing all my life, sometimes multiple times a day. I've probably taken more than 50,000 leaks, and it usually only takes about a minute at most. So I've given that my typical pee is no longer than 60 seconds. And given that it feels like I'm about halfway done, that means it's probably only been standing here for 30 seconds, right? But the guy at the urinal next to me doesn't respond. Instead, starts shuffling away from me midstream like a startled penguin. I try, albeit unsuccessfully, to break eye contact. Could you imagine being that fucking dude that's looking at the guy next to the urinal, having a conversation about how many times in his life he's taken a piss, and you're like, okay, cool, buddy. Like, and then trying to fucking get out of there? That's funny. After finally finishing, I again splash some more water on my face and return to my seat, making sure to apologize to the table for being gone for such a long time, just in case my math was off. Next, I try to briefly engage in small talk with my wife's father, but I'm far too high to understand what either of us are saying. I have also been there. Not wanting to start laughing uncontrollably at the wrong moment. I have to interrupt. I have a story, guys. I get extreme paranoia when I take cannabis, and like, it's extreme paranoia. And I have a medical card because I have fucked up back issues, and like, it does help, but taking it means that I have to be completely by myself and I can't be near my phone. I need to like just veg out and watch TV because I can't I fucking can't deal with anyone. I can't have conversations. I can't focus. And like somebody will say something to me and I'll have to think of my reply and it feels like it's taking forever. And like the paranoia is so fucking bad that I can't just enjoy the effects, the side effects of smoking. When I owned the comic book store, I went and got an RSO syringe from Trulieve, and it's a 800 milligram concentrate. And it says on the packaging that a dose is a single drop. And like, I didn't know what it was. I just thought this was going to be a cool little edible experience that I knew was going to fuck me up. But this is ultra concentrated, like 800 milligram, 90% THC. Like this shit is fucking potent. And like, the guy was like, dude, it'll help if you put it in a cup of warm water first so that it gets the RSO hot and you can squirt it through the syringe easier. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know, fucking dope. So like I did a little prep and I'm in the comic book store because my buddy at the time was working for me. This was before I gave him the store. There's a giant Lovesack beanbag. I drug it behind the counter. I'm getting ready to like watch TV and just vibe out in the comic book store all day. And I take the fucking syringe and I squirt like a trail across the top of a bite-sized Snickers bar. So instead of taking a drop, I did a string, like a little string on a Snickers bar. Probably the equivalent of like 10 times more than I should have taken. And I fucking take this thing and I chew it up and it tastes like fucking pure cannabis and chocolate. It was not good at all. But I get it down and like I get on the beanbag. I start looking for something to watch. I'm going to kill my entire day in this comic book store with my buddy, watching TV, playing Magic the Gathering, just being a nerd, having a good time. Fucking wrong. I put on the Solo movie, the Star Wars Solo movie, Han Solo, and watched the entire thing. Don't remember any of it. Still never watched it again. I couldn't tell you anything from the movie other than there was a casino at one point. That's all I got. And as the movie's over and the credits are rolling, my buddy goes, hey, bro, are you good? You've been watching the credits for like 3 minutes. I was like, what? I was like, I'm zoning out, dude. Like, whatever. And I turn around and I look and there's a fucking sheriff standing in the comic book store. And let me tell you that I have my medical card. I am no longer in the correctional system whatsoever. I have my rights restored. I am in my place of business and there is nothing that person can do to me. And logically, I know I could get as high as I want to in that store because of my card and because it's mine. And there's nothing he could do about it. And he was like, hey man, what's up? And I fell apart. It was the end of the fucking world just to be like, hey man, what's up? Nope. Couldn't get that out. Couldn't get that at all. No. Instead I'm like, yeah. And he just looked at me and I was like, dude, I'm having a really bad day. And I just fucking got on the beanbag. I pulled my hoodie up and I just went like this. I shut the fuck down. That was the last time that I took any type of edible anything. And when I tell you that my wife can take like one of those syringes before she took her tolerance break, she was doing like zigs. Like I did like a little S curve. She's like painting the top of these things like Charlie Brown's hairline. I'm like, I don't know how the fuck you do that. Oh my God. Luckily that sheriff was really fucking cool and like a big ass nerd and came into the comic book store all the time. And he came back in like a month and a half later and I'm like, dude, I am so fucking sorry about the way that I responded and reacted to you the last time you were here. And he's like, yeah, man, don't worry. He's like, what, did you take an edible? And I'm like, how the fuck did you know that? He's like, we laughed at you for like 45 minutes over that. You didn't hear any of that? I was like, I didn't hear any of it. I was so fucking embarrassed that I couldn't have a conversation with you that I shut the fuck down and disassociated. He's like, yeah, dude, you're good. But it was fucking bad. It was bad. I don't know how you guys do that shit. Watching we'll get into the dispensary story when I'm done. I got to finish the story because I keep looking at it. I want to know what happened. I want to hear if dude shit himself. Okay. I figure the safest idea is to nod my head periodically and drink a ton of water. Nothing cures mental fatigue like water, right? To my wife's horror, I stand up, grab my water glass, and thrust it out to our waiter, who is unfortunately is in the opposite side of the restaurant, but turns out to be really cool. And after making his way over to our table, tells me that he'll do his best to keep me stocked with ice water for the rest of the meal. He also helpfully suggests that the dinner rolls aren't too spicy for me, and I should probably eat one or two of them so that I'm not just sitting there on an empty stomach. Smart man. However, after going through all of the bread at the table and 3 glasses of water, I start to get worried that I need actual food to offset the growing paranoia from those tiny ginger snap devils. Do you think I should flag down the waiter again and ask what's taking so long? I suggest helpfully to my wife. What? We literally just ordered 3 fucking minutes ago. Dude, your wife's a cunt. This is an existential crisis. Like, I understand that some of you may have never been in that situation, but when you look at your partner and they are clearly fucking struggling, the last thing that you should ever do is belittle them or talk down to them. I hope to God that she never finds herself in a situation where she feels like she needs help and somebody treats her this way. Fuck her. And at that exchange, my wife loses her cool. How many cookies did you eat? She demands. Whoa, easy there, Torquemada. I don't know what that means. I respond, somewhat horrified at her outburst. I had a few cookies, but I kept it. But keep it down. I don't want your parents to know how fucked up I am right now. Really? They're sitting 2 feet away from you. They know. All caps. I look up for the first time to notice both of my in-laws just staring at me for what literally felt like an eternity. That was the end of it. There's the edit here. Wow. Thanks everyone for the love and even for some of the hate. I think I have officially peaked in life. As for part 2 of the story, there's a reason, or technically 3 delicious reasons why it was cut short. At that point, my wife's singular focus was getting me out of the restaurant before I either puked all over the table or pissed myself, or an unsightly combination of both. So after a few specific 2-handed waves goodbye from my in-laws, she rushed me to the door like Secret Service agent evacuating the president. My night after that was a whirlwind of barfing and groveling, mixed with a few vain attempts at getting handsy back in the hotel room. But being the absolute awesome sweetie that my wife is, she stuck with me through the whole nightmare, whispering over and over in my ear, "Please don't die. We have a mortgage." Yeah. Fuck her, dude. Poop knife is gonna be the next one. I'm gonna I don't want to read that. That's disgusting. That has to do with poop. Feel good post. That one. Nope. Okay. All right. Let's go back to YouTube. All right. I've heard it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to just not read that. So when Peaches and I went to Vegas the first time that we went out there, we have dispensaries in Florida, but it's medical and everything is limited. So like in Florida, if you have a medical, you can't just go buy whatever you want. You have to have specific prescriptions for specific things. So like we didn't even have smokable flower at first. We only had vapes and shit, but like you get edible, smokable, inhalation, and topical. And your doctor has to prescribe what you need, and you only get a certain amount of that. And that's it. In Florida, you cannot have, I believe you're not allowed to possess more than 2 ounces of cannabis, period, regardless of your prescription. But we can't do that. And she has her medical card. I have my medical card, and we go get her what she needs when she needs it because, you know, she smokes a lot. And when we went to Vegas, we hit one of the dispensaries out there, and I was like, we're here for, I think we were there for 8 days or 9 days the first time we went out there. We were there for over a week. And I was like, I don't want to have to come back here. And she's like, okay. And I was like, so buy whatever you think you're going to need to get us through the trip. And she's like, well, do I have a budget? I'm like, just get what you want, babe. Like they have drinks, they have snacks, they have papers, they have pre-rolls, they have flour, they have fucking dab rigs. They have everything that you could possibly want in here. Just get whatever you want. $1,000 later, we walk out of that fucking dispensary with everything that she wanted. And when I tell you that my wife was so fucking high the entire time that we were in Vegas the first time, the fact that she can remember it is astonishing. They had these 100 milligram drinks, and she was drinking at least 2 of them a day. The entire drink in one shot. Like, I could not fucking believe that she was walking around and having a good time and just functioning with that much cannabis in her. Like, I was so glad when she took her tolerance break. It made it so much cheaper. I went into a smoke shop and got flour. Y'all's loophole law is freaking wild. Do you have a medical card? Because you shouldn't have been able to do that. Vegas dispo on the strip was dumb as fuck. We went away from the strip. Yeah, you don't do anything on the strip. Dude, I was walking through DC with my vape was wild. I was so paranoid. I fucking bet. Jenna said, I'm a 5 milligram top out. She, not her, not fucking her. When I tell you that, like, people are like, oh, I'm a big fucking, I can smoke. I'll smoke you under the table. Blah, 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 blah. And they talk all that shit. Shut up. You ain't talking to my wife like that. You are not talking to my wife like that. I have never, I used to smoke an ounce a day. Real shit. But it's not like today's cannabis. Like, it's that fucking really gross grown, traveled across the country in a bumper of a car, fucking compressed sticks and stems. Like, it was not what they have now. All of this hybrid grow and like grown for potency and all of that shit. Like, even at my highest, what's being available now would fucking wreck me. She takes that shit like it's nothing. All right. What do we want to do, guys? We're 75 of us are still hanging out. We're an hour and a half into this. I can keep going if you want, or we can. Did you send me more? Nope, you didn't. I was tagged in the ball pit. Let me check that real quick. Okay. All right, so I can pop the chat back up. Dirtweed. Peach is a real G. Y'all don't understand. My wife she is a fucking gangster. Florida law is basically you can buy it and sell it, but it's illegal to burn it, and that's what the shop owner told me. You bought Delta 9. You didn't buy actual, like, so that loophole is why there's so many cannabis regulations and so many issues happening right now in Washington, and why it's getting rescheduled to 3. The reviews are coming and hilarious. The reviews of what? What reviews? I did not join you in this Rainbow Road adventure for you to tap early. Word. Game on. Keep going. A smoke session with Peach is the dream. Then you got to come to a retreat because she smokes with everybody like crazy at the retreats. I vote funny stories. I'm down to continue reading stuff or embarrassing ones. I'm down to read those too. Those are funny. Just nothing to do with fecal matter. I can also read some feel goods. We got a whole folder of thank you emails that we could read that'll make you guys feel good. I'm down to do whatever's going to keep you guys entertained. I'm having fun. I was having fun before I sat down. I was having a whole lot of fun playing Call of Duty until we played Search. And then I got mad at the NoobTube shit. In order for me to keep going, Brother Chris has got to give me some more content. Where can I get the plant medicine online? I'm nervous to buy it from people around me. I would love to give you a source, but that would be super fucking illegal unless you're a member of a church. Like, that's just one of those things that is dangerous. Skip the one listed as feel good. The ones after it are reviews. Okay, let me go pull that up then. There's nothing there. These are all, I already searched all this. This was the, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you haven't posted it yet. I don't know. I'm playing COD right now while listening to you. Hell yeah. Skip the one listed as feel good. The ones after are reviews. I don't have new things in here from you, brother. This is all, unless you just posted a new one. Oh, Amazon review. Okay. This was an Amazon review. I cried laughing the first time I read it. Okay, let's pull this up. Okay. Renee Palmer, are you a member of our Patreon? Just curious if you're in there or not. Hub's playing COD right now. It's our together alone time. That's called parallel play. I learned that the other day. I think that that's important. It allows you to keep your independence and allow you to have your hobbies while still being connected to your person. All right. So this one's called Review on Amazon of Feet Hair Removal Cream. After being told my danglies looked like an elderly Rastafarian, I decided to take the plunge and buy some of this, as previous shaving attempts had only been mildly successful. Veet, it says Veet, not feet. Veet hair removal. I don't know if that was a typo or not. And I nearly put my back out trying to reach the more difficult bits. Being a bit of a romantic, oh my God, this is not about feet. I thought I would do the deed on the missus' birthday as a bit of a treat. I ordered it well in advance, and the working in the North Sea, I considered myself a bit above some of the characters writing the previous reviews, and I wrote them off as soft office types. Oh, my fellow sufferers, how wrong I was. I waited until the other half was tucked up in bed, and after giving some vague hints about a special surprise, I went down to the bathroom. Initially, all went well, and I applied the gel and stood waiting for something to happen. I didn't have long to wait. At first, there was gentle warmth, which in a matter of seconds was replaced by an intense burning and a feeling I can only describe as like being given a barbed wire wedgie by two people with the intent of hitting the ceiling with my head. Religion hadn't featured much into my life until that night, but I suddenly became willing to convert to any religion to stop the violent burning around the turd tunnel and what seemed like the destruction of the meat and two veg. This is definitely not about feet. Struggling to not bite through my bottom lip, I tried to wash the gel off in the sink, only to succeed in blocking the plug hole with the mat of hair. Through the haze of tears, I struggled to get out of the bathroom, across the hall, and into the kitchen. By this time, walking was not really possible, and I crawled the final yard to the fridge in hope of some form of cold relief. I yanked the freezer door out and found a tub of ice cream, tore the lid off, and positioned it under me. The relief was fantastic, but only temporary, as it melted fairly quickly, and the fiery stabbing soon returned. Due to the shape of the ice cream tub, I hadn't managed to give the starfish any treatment, and I groped around the... This is so fucking gross. I groped around the drawer for something else. I was sure my vision was going to fail fairly soon. I grabbed a bag of what I later found out was frozen sprouts and tore them open, trying to be as quiet as I did, so I took a handful of them and tried in vain to clench some between my cheeks. This was not doing the trick, as some of the gel had found its way up the chutney channel, and it felt like the space shuttle was running its engines behind me. Oh, this poor bastard. This was probably and hopefully the only time in my life I was going to wish there was a gay snowman in the kitchen, which should give you some idea of the depth I was willing to sink to in order to ease the pain. The only solution my pain-crazed mind could come up with was to gently ease one of the sprouts where no veg had gone before. Unfortunately, alerted by the strange grunts coming from the kitchen, the other half chose that moment, to come down and investigate and was greeted by the sight of me, ass in the air, strawberry cream dripping from my bell end, pushing a sprout up my ass while muttering, "Oh, oh, that feels good." Understandably, this was a shock to her, and she let out a scream, and as I hadn't had her come in, it caused an involuntary spasm of shock in myself, which resulted in the sprout being ejected at quite some speed in her direction. I can understand that having a sprout farted against your leg at 11 at night in the kitchen probably wasn't the special surprise she was expecting, and having to explain to the kids the next day what that strange hollow in the ice cream was didn't improve my status. To sum it up, Veet removes hair, dignity, and respect. Jesus Christ. That's funny. Veet is actually a brand. I read that shit as feet hair removal. I was like, okay, what's that? Jesus, dude. Could you imagine somebody shooting a Brussels sprout out of their ass at you? Oh, man. She got hit with a shitty Brussels sprout. It hit her. Like, how do you even respond to that? Like, it would look like a chocolate-covered Brussels sprout. I bet it left a mark on her leg. I bet she had a shit mark on her leg. There's that special night, guys. This one's called The Funniest Review I've Ever Read in My Life. Read the whole thing. A review for a laxative. I think I've read this. GEW, that's not a fire hose. That's my butt. Pros, works fast. One dose, very effective. Cons, works fast, very effective. Note, this is not a review of Phillips Milk of Magnesia. There is no product category for magnesium citrate, and opinions will not allow new products in this category. So I have to improvise. I wish I could put it in the right place, but I can't. I like to keep myself pretty healthy, and I'm not afraid of natural body functions. So this seemed like a good topic of review for me. To start off, I needed to be constipated. To accomplish this, I have been eating lots of dairy and red meat and almost no vegetables or fiber this week. I didn't completely plug up the pipes, but it did slow way down. My wife is a fourth-year pharmacy student, so I asked her what the best laxative product on the market is. She told me if you need to go use mag citrate. I don't like to do things halfway, so I went with her suggestion. Walgreens, the Pharmacy America Trust. I went to Walgreens and found the store brand of magnesium citrate in the constipation section. A 10-ounce bottle was $1.99, which seems very reasonable to me. The instruction says that an adult should take the entire 10 ounces of green liquid followed by a full glass of water. I made my purchase from a very helpful pharmacist and went home to try out my product. Women use this to induce labor. So I'm imagining that this guy's having the time of his life shitting. The Green Machine. I am not a big medicine person. When I was young, I tried to figure out any way possible to take medicine without it being medicine. I would grind up pills, mix them in sugar or applesauce. If I had to take any kind of cough syrup, I would wash my tongue with soap and then brush my teeth after. I don't like to take medicine. I opened the bottle, green yuck, chugged it. Not a great taste by any means, but I got it down. I quickly drank not one as recommended on the bottle, but 2 full glasses of water, then started brushing my teeth. I got the urge to burble. Before I finished brushing my top molars. I felt a shift in my intestines. Things were starting to flow. Things were starting to churn and burble and twist. Realizing that something was afoot, I began to brush faster. After a few seconds, my toothbrush began to fly, and I started making strange squeaky noises from my nose as an attempt to encourage myself to go faster. Then I threw the toothbrush in the sink, yanked my pants down, and flew ass first across the room to the toilet. Thank God my wife has trained me to leave the toilet seat down. Someone in the chat said, "Yep, I'll eat that later." Did someone open a fire hydrant? Oh, my sweet Mary. My wife was not kidding when she recommended this as the best laxative on the market. I haven't taken all of them, so I can't say for sure, but I don't imagine anything could act any faster or clear my bowels any more effectively in less than 5 minutes. After I took the bottle, everything I have ever eaten in my whole life had passed through my intestines. I think I saw Jimmy Hoffa go by, but kept flushing to make sure the room, to keep flushing. Fuck me. I think I saw Jimmy Hoffa go by, but I kept flushing to keep the room from overflowing, so I can't be sure. Okay, that might be an understatement. It was much, much worse. I'm sure you've had the feeling where your body gets strangely warm and tingly and that odd sensation when you really have to go. It was like that for about 10 minutes while I groaned, cramped, and rocketed around the room. The stuff works. Maybe I should have been really constipated before using it instead of just bogged down a little bit. First rule of magnesium citrate. 1, if you need to go, use mag citrate. It keeps going and going and going. After about 10 minutes of near constant flow, things begin to settle down. I would guess that was because my body was completely empty. I was basically a burlap bag at that point. Had I eaten anything, I imagine it would have just fallen out before I had finished chewing it. It would be like pouring water into a bucket with no bottom. I didn't actually try to eat anything because I was afraid to leave the toilet. Second rule of magnesium citrate. If you use it, never venture more than 5 feet from a toilet. Oh my God. They make you drink this shit when you go in for surgery sometime too. After about 5 minutes of excretory inactivity, after 5 minutes of not taking a shit, I felt some more motion in the bowel region. I wasn't feeling real good at that point, so I decided enough was enough. I took my anti-diarrhea medicine. From a medical standpoint, that might not have been the best idea, but it seemed logical at the time. Fortunately, I'm also doing great opinions write-off on anti-diarrhea medicine, so I had some handy. Okay. Third rule of mag citrate, block off about 3 or 4 hours in your date book for personal time. Even after taking my Imodium, it was several hours before I felt sure enough of myself to stray from the immediate area of the restroom. I didn't have any more attacks like the first one, but I did have to stop back a few times for honorable mentions. Conclusion, if you're really constipated and you want relief now, mag citrate is the drug for you. This stuff isn't calm, gentle, overnight relief. This is the Navy SEAL Hell Week of laxatives. Your intestines and rear will feel battered, weak, and abused by the time that it's done. But the job is done like no other. Footnote, I now understand why the Jabberwock in Lewis Carroll's poem was so easy to slay. It burbled as it came. Obviously, it had taken mag citrate prior to battle, and it was just looking for a bathroom. After the boy killed it, he only took the head back. He couldn't stand around the rest of the body for obvious reasons. Fourth rule of mag citrate, never enter battle against a beamish boy immediately after taking mag citrate. That's fucking gross. So gross. Somebody came in and was like, yeah, alive. You came in right as we're reading about people shitting themselves. Great timing. Welcome to the shit show. That's funny. All right. Oh man, no, the sugar-free gummy bears. Haribo sugar-free gummy bears. Guys, these will act in your system as a laxative. If you don't know this, don't eat bags of these things. Oh man. Hell holds no surprise for me anymore. This is a cautionary tale unlike most of other reviews of this product. This is a true story and it's authentically can be qualified by a small news item that appeared in the Toronto Star's local news section during the month of April in 2013, much to my chagrin. I would consider myself a prudent man, not given to bouts of outspokenness or craving attention, and certainly not one to rock the boat. On any given day, I can be found reading a crime novel on a park bench in the middle of the city, soaking in the opulence of nature while nibbling on my tuna fish sandwiches, and fending off the voracious gulls and squirrels that threaten to spoil my repose. This is me, law-abiding and introspective, which is why it came as a shock to me to find myself incarcerated because of the devil's confectionery, Satan's sweet meat, Lucifer's lozenges, the horror that is known as Haribo sugar-free gummy bears. I hope you guys are enjoying this. This is pure fucking debauchery. I'll set the scene. It was late in winter, early spring in Toronto, and the city had just begun digging itself out from a late season snowstorm. I was heading to Pearson International Airport for a red-eye flight to Amsterdam in order to give the Dutch arm of our company some training on the new software that had been installed. I'm deliberately being vague to prevent my place of work from being linked in any way to the incident that occurred. I had just finished packing, checked the time, and found I was running late. My flight was at 7:10 p.m., and it was now almost 5. Cursing softly, I ran out to the car and threw my bags in the trunk, hitting the gas a little harder than usual in my haste to make it to the long-term parking as soon as possible. Luckily, traffic was light on the 401, and I had made it to the airport in record time, but knew that my chances of making the flight were still at risk. If I didn't use any of my time wisely. I hadn't eaten since lunch, and I was feeling a bit hungry. My stomach rumbling loudly in protestation which caused me to look around at the other travelers rushing past me in the busy terminal. Mortified that my bodily noises might be heard by others, I briskly checked my watch and decided that I had enough time to grab a quick snack before going through the baggage check and into security. I would get something more substantial once I was checked through security. I spotted a vending machine. I wrestled in a relatively low traffic corner of the terminal and rushed over. I spotted a vending machine, wrestled in a relatively low traffic corner in the terminal and rushed over. Already pulling out my credit card and mentally assessing what I had a craving for to save time interacting with the machine. My eyes scanned the colorful array of confection quickly, coming to rest on a tantalizing rainbow-colored bag of gummy bears with a simple white and red logo, Haribo, emblazoned. The word is emblazoned. Again, guys, more than I should have taken. Emblazoned across the bag in what appeared to be a slightly tweaked Helvetica rounded font. Now, I'd pause here. I'd like to pause. You missed the word like. Now, I'd like to pause here in the story for a moment to underscore the importance of making proper choices. I was hungry. When you're hungry, you should eat food. Food is defined as a nutritious substance that people consume to maintain life. This is what food is. These days, the definition of the word food has been bastardized and the meaning has been broadened to include veritably any material that can be digested or rather chewed and swallowed without causing death or severe illness. Haribo sugar gummy bears are not food. They aren't even from this planet. I imagine their origins being conceived in a boardroom in hell by a top tier of creative pain advisors, with the senior level demons rubbing their hands together in their ghoulish delight as Hell's chef's chemist slowly lifts the veil on their new creation. The point here being, I made a very, very, very poor choice. I pushed the button and the vending machine ejected the brightly colored bag into my awaiting hands. I had always liked gummy bears. They were bright, but rather innocuous. They weren't overly sweet, so as to become cloying, and of course, each candy in the visage of a rather happy docile bear, reminiscent of the picture one's mind's eye holds of the anthropomorphic bears from Yogi to Winnie. Jesus Christ, I can't read. The way I figured it, I was taking a bit of a holiday from life, so I would relax my fastidiously regimented daily. You had to Google words to be able to type this out. This is not even enjoyable to read because he's trying to be like overly smart and funny. Just get to the point where you shit yourself on the airplane, because I know that's what's coming. I was blah blah blah. Schedule a little allow for some frivolity. After all, I was going to be in Amsterdam come morning with 16 hours to kill before I had to be in training for the Dutch employees. Maybe I would take a trip down to one of the coffee shops in the red light district and really let my hair down. No, I would not do that. I would see that area of the city only from the bus as I went to the hotel room, where I would eat at the hotel restaurant, drink sparkling water, so I'd better enjoy the gummy bears, my one extravagance to commemorate my break from routine. I joined the queue in the KLM line, which was mercifully short, most likely because all of the passengers for my flight had already been checked through, as the flight was scheduled to depart in an hour. I checked my watch again, frowned, and absent-mindedly opened the bag of gummy bears and began to munch on them as the line slowly advanced. To be fair, they tasted fine, just like every other manufacturer's brand of the colorful candy, and they were sugar-free to boot. This is what made the whole incident that followed so baffling. If they had tasted off or different, I most likely wouldn't have continued to shovel them into my mouth, absent-mindedly, while daydreaming about what I would order to eat from room service in my hotel in Amsterdam. This is proof that the shit that we eat isn't food, and you guys eating sugar-free shit and trying to do sugar substitutes, you're eating chemicals. As I gave the attendant my e-ticket and she weighed my bags, the first of the pains began in my stomach. I thought nothing at first, chalking it up to the fact that I needed something more substantial than gummy bears to tackle my hunger. But over the course of the next 5 minutes, the shooting pain began to become more rapid in succession. At this point, I had my boarding pass printed and rubbing my stomach a little, I proceeded to security. I briefly entertained the thought of trying to find a restroom before going through security. But at that point, my discomfort was manageable and I didn't think it was going to get any worse, certainly not within the amount of time that it would take me to clear security. I joined the line and started fishing for my passport to present the agent checking tickets. I felt a thin sheen of sweat break out on my forehead and underarms, and my features flushed for a moment as a wave of heat flashed over me. I wonder if this gets him stopped through TSA or whatever it is in Canada. I don't know if you guys have TSA, but I didn't pay much heed to it, as going through security has always caused me great anxiety. I chalked it up to pre-flight jitters. It was only as I stood face to face with the agent and handed her my passport and ticket that I had a glimpse of the agony that I was about to begin to feel. It felt like time rippled for a moment, as if my consciousness buckled, so intense was the pain that fired through my bowels. I grimaced spastically and emitted a low moan and felt myself take an involuntary step sideways. Stars shot through my head briefly and my vision blurred, and then snapped back into focus. The agent was staring at me with a slight consternation and asked me if I was all right. I pulled myself together, stood up straight, and declared that I was fine, mortified that I had had a lapse of decorum, not only in public, but at the security clearance at an airport. As I fumbled I'm willing to bet that people actually sit down and write these things just for the entertainment of people, because it gives them the ability to be an anonymous little author telling funny stories. As I fumbled off my belt to go through the metal detector, the pain in my stomach increased and I practically had to sit on the floor to take my shoes off, terrified of what would happen if I bent at the middle to do it. It was becoming increasingly more evident to me that this wasn't just a stomach ache. No, this was something much worse. As a child, I had had a bout of diarrhea after a trip to Mexico with my family. I remember the feeling of nausea that swept through me before my child self had surrendered to the gas pains and parked myself on the toilet for an hour pooping until I didn't feel I had anything left in my bones. And that was how I was feeling now, with several key differences. The pain was worse. The sense of impeding bowel movement was so formidable, it gave me temporary amnesia, and it took all of my willpower, all of it, to clench my butt cheeks together to prevent my sphincter from exploding. A sudden shock of pain. I hope to God this dude shit his pants, just because of the way he's writing this. A sudden shock of pain, he deserves it, just because of the way he's writing this. A sudden shock of pain racked my body, and I half wondered if I was going to give birth to a Tasmanian devil. The crazed fever-induced image of said cartoon animal chasing Bugs Bunny through splashy volcanic shit kettle that was my stomach caused me to elicit a short maniacal bark of laughter as I approached the metal detector. A wild, distant look in my eyes, sweat beginning to pour off my long-distance runner and distant look in my eyes, sweat now beginning to pour off me like a long-distance runner in Kenya. The security agent on the other side of the detector shot a quick glance over to her coworker, who narrowed his eyes and made a subtle movement towards his holster. My breathing became uneven as I entered the metal detector and realized with alarm that I hadn't taken off my socks without even registering it. I had taken off my socks without even registering it, and one of my shirt tails was untucked in the front. I held my breath, eyes bulging dangerously from my head as the machine scanned me. I shakily moved forward towards the agent for a pat down. My stomach began to elicit sounds that can only be described as otherworldly. It started off as a sort of bubbling around the head from, you know what? I honestly, this dude going through TSA and having that going on, I had a friend who was a drug mule. Like I actually had a friend who was a legitimate drug mule, and he got caught because he had a balloon pop in his stomach while he was on a flight, and the heroin that was in his stomach almost killed him. So being there, standing in front of a TSA agent and having all of this happening, I'm really fucking shocked that this didn't create a big deal. Let's see. It started off as a sort of bubbling sound heard from afar and grew in pitch and intensity at an alarming rate. My jaw dropped in shock is what I can only describe as the sound of an agonized wailing alley cat. In heat with a persistent Doppler effect added to its voice emitted from some nether region of my intestines. The officer's eyes widened in alarm, and she kept her eyes glued to my stomach as she shot. Okay, so she patted him down. He ran to the bathroom, thinking he was going to shit himself. With a Herculean effort and all the strength that I could muster, I forced my butt cheeks together, knowing that one false move would open the floodgates. Blah, 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 blah. I turned on my heels with the intention of finding the nearest restroom and slowly dying there one squirt at a time. But that's not what happened. I turned to go and found myself staring at three armed agents who stopped me and asked if I would follow them. Yep, I called that. Why? What's the matter? I stammered wincingly, slightly at the act of speech seemed to be strained. Let me see. Three officers got him, tried to take him to go. He said, I have to go to the bathroom right now. I pleaded. Just follow us, please, they said, leaving no room for argument. The other travelers clearing security check, blah, blah, blah. With each step I took towards the room that they ushered me into, I felt that my legs would give. The room they brought me into was an examination room. I had pretty much stopped registering details of my environment as my consciousness closed off to all but the absolutely necessary functions. The slow dawning of realization poked through my agony and stoic resolve as I turned to face an agent donning rubber gloves. Sir, we are going to have to perform a cavity search on you. A young, fresh agent stated in a firm but emotionless voice. You ain't searching me, bro. Not like that. You can fucking go ahead and just arrest me and take me to jail. And then I'm gonna sue the fuck out of you. Dude shits on this person. Lower your pants and underwear, please. Face the desk. Panic started to grip me, and its icy grasp, the sudden adrenaline threatened to destroy my sphincter's bulwarks and rend my anus in two. Sir, please, I begged, deferring to this kid in an act of depression. I have to go to the bathroom. You can follow me to the stall if you need to, but I had some bad sugar-free gummy bears, and I feel like... But they had stopped listening and smirked at each other. Two of the other agents, a tall, dark-haired female and a shorter one being a balding fat man, looked away from me and could see them shaking a little as they stifled their laugh. Sir, face the wall and put your hands on the desk and spread your cheeks. The young agent stated, a lopsided grin on his face, but I began to protest. I exhaled shakily. My focus began to narrow as I rallied around from battle. Please, it said it again. Please, from somewhere, blah, 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 blah. I heard someone say he probably has some heroin. No, he probably has heroin or something up there that opened up, the female guard said, as a part of me that hadn't escaped to either of them yet acknowledged that she was behind me and to my left. Probably high as a kite. Look at him, she said. The shorter guard agreed with a snort off to my right. Spread your cheeks, the young agent said. He's begging, please, desperate thing, blah, blah, blah. Trying to save you guys the stupidity of the way that this is written. I involuntarily leaned forward over the desk. My focus completely narrowed now to a spot on the wall 2 feet in front of me. A curious imperfection in what seemed to be a whitewashed stone wall that was a dark blotch about 5 millimeters long and shaped like a smiling bear. A yellow dancing... Oh, so this is just fucking stupidity anyways. It took something as simple as a slight breeze to trigger Armageddon. That's all. No trumpets, no fanfare, no fire raining from the heavens. No dogs and no cats living together in harmony. No finger on the button. No prophet to predict it. Nothing. Blah, 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 blah. For just a moment, maybe less, maybe a split second. He shit on the person that was checking for things. This isn't a long ass. I'm done with this. This is not entertaining me, guys. Sorry. This is a bunch of fucking stupid jargon to try to tell a story and be a whole lot of fun, and it's not fun. It's fucking stupid. They overtold it. This is not humor. I don't believe that that's a real story. Yana said, why didn't he tell me he took the laxatives? He didn't know it was a laxative. Those gummy bears, for those of you who don't know, those gummy bears are a sugar-free substitute, and the things that they use to make it taste sweet is an actual like super laxative, and you're eating chemicals. Like, it's not good for your body. Those gummy bears are actually really fucking bad for you, and dude ate half the bag of them. So the fact that he was in there shitting his brains out, like, that really happens. I know that for sure. But the rest of that, him fucking blowing ass all over the TSA agent, all of that, I don't believe any of that. All right, this next one's called I Got Fired from a Job I Never Really Actually Worked At. This is a short one. 23 male applied for a remote position last year. The onboarding was chaotic. Everything was through email, and they somehow forgot to assign me to a team. I waited. I asked around, no response, so I figured I'd chill until someone noticed. 3 months passed. I was getting paid every 2 weeks, no tasks, no meetings, no contact. I started treating it like a free UBI. I traveled, gamed, lived my best life. Then last week, HR finally emailed saying your performance has not met expectations. I laughed out loud. Performance, I literally hadn't logged into a company system once. They fired me and sent me a severance check. I didn't even bother replying. They paid me nearly $20,000 to do nothing. I feel a bit guilty, but also like I beat the system for once. That's fucking wild. Did you guys hear about that lady who got a check from a veterinarian or something that was a yearly salary in one shot? It was like $450,000, and she cashed it and was doing a whole bunch of shit, and ended up getting in a whole lot of legal trouble because she cashed that check and is being charged with like grand larceny or something. It's wild. Absolutely wild. All right, I'm going to close out. Why is this not working? There we go. Minimize. We have been 2 hours and 12 minutes. So I did not eat gummy bears, but I absolutely need to get more water and take a piss. So I'm going to throw up the be right back screen. I'm going to refill, empty my bladder, void myself, so to speak. And then I will be back. If you guys would like to do more Reddit stuff, we can do more Reddit stuff. If you want to just bullshit, I can do Q&A. Figure out what you guys want to do, and we'll do that when I get back. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Oh, man. So what would you guys like to do today or the rest of the day? I'm probably going to go for like another hour and then I'm going to wrap up sitting in this chair starting to bother my back. $69 people rocking with me still. Did you guys watch the show Shogun? I finished the final 2 episodes for the second time yesterday. And there was a scene where Blackthorn or Blackhorn or whatever his name was, the engine was let's see if you guys have actually seen it so I can at least talk to somebody that knows what the fuck I'm talking about. Yes, okay, at least one person's watched it. First and foremost, Shogun is probably one of the best TV shows that I have watched in a long time. Like, it supersedes Yellowstone, Mayor of Kingstown, fucking Landman. Like, it is hands down one of the best TV shows that I have ever watched. And it's only a season right now. Season 2 is filming right now. It'll drop in 2027, but they have season 2 and 3 are being filmed. For those of you who don't know, the movie is about samurais and Englishmen going into Japan when the Portuguese had Catholic rule. And there was a love story happening between 2 of the characters, Mariko and the Anjin, which is the Englishman who was there, who was like a pirate. And you're watching this entire show and you're watching this man fall madly in love with this woman who is a descendant of a 1,000-year samurai family that conducts herself with perfect, like, everything is perfect conduction, service, perfect manners. Like, she embodies what it means to be like an honorable person in Japan. And she's married. So she's falling in love with him as well. And she's trying to not do anything that's going to compromise Lord Toranaga and all of this shit. And at some point they get captured in a city. I'm not trying to give away too much of the show. And she's going to perform seppuku. She's going to stab herself in the stomach, cut her intestines, and have somebody cut her head off because she's unable to perform her duties to her lord. And the person that she called to second her, which is the one that actually cuts the head off so that she's not truly killing herself, didn't show up. And this man who is in love with her is watching her getting ready to stab her intestines, knowing that she's going to suffer and eventually bleed to death, said that he would second her. And he grabs the sword and stands behind her ready to second her when she falls. And I had a moment while watching that show yesterday, and like, he was doing it because she's a Christian. And he knows that if she dies, according to her faith, by her own hand, she would go to hell. And he was willing to cut her head off to prevent her from dying by her own hand and preventing her from hell, even though he was in love with her. And when I tell you that, like, I had to pause that because I was on the fucking couch crying about what was going on, like, the amount of selflessness that has to go into that and the amount of lifelong torment that man would have because he had to cut off the woman's head that he loved to prevent her from rotting in hell is fucking insane. And like, I tried to put myself in that position and like, would I be able to do that for Peaches? And I don't think I could. I don't think that I would be able to live with myself. I think that in a situation like that, they would have to kill me before I allowed her to try to do some shit like that. And aside from it just being a phenomenal TV show, and it's on Hulu, you guys can watch it. It's done really well artistically because they didn't light the show with crazy key lights and shit like this. Everything was natural lighting. So if they were in a room with a bunch of candles or a single key light coming through a window, the light was the window and that was the only light source. So there was no backlighting and hair lighting and crazy underlighting and all of that shit. It is a really, really, really good, well done TV show. Love the camera work. Yeah, they did a phenomenal job of that. Strong case for ENM. That scene got me too. Yeah, I couldn't do that. He's a better man than me. I mean, dude, that's where I'm at. Like, yeah, yes, it's Shogun. I honestly don't think that I would be able to do that. Like, if it was one of those things where she had to do that to herself and there was no other option, and like I knew she was going to follow through with it and suffer, I wouldn't let her suffer. But to volunteer to be the one to actually do that, I don't know. I think it would fucking break me. I asked my guy if he would do that, and he said he wouldn't have to because hell doesn't exist. I disagree. If I had to watch my wife die knowing that I was going to live on after her, that is hell. I've lived that hell. I know what that feels like. I promise you that's hell. It's called Shogun. All right, so what else would you guys like to talk about? What are we doing? May jump back on Call of Duty after this. I have to eat too. I haven't eaten anything since breakfast. I had some Hawaiian rolls and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because I'm an adult. That was definitely not a strong case for ENM. If you watch the show, the only reason that she was married to her husband was because her father killed the reigning regent or whatever it was that ran Japan at the time. And the only thing that saved her life was being married off to somebody so that she wasn't beheaded. So it's a whole ass thing. There's one more funny one I found, but I can do some. Don't worry about it, dude. I'm good. I don't want to. I think I'm done with the Reddit stuff for a little bit. Blind reactions to funny things. The reaction videos get me in trouble on YouTube. I have to find the right amount of time to watch and react versus just reacting because they will cut the fucking channel off. We had a live stream get cut off that was a Patreon only live because we were streaming the couples therapy thing. Apparently you can't do that, which is wild. I watch people fucking react to shit all day long with no strikes. I don't understand. Everything that I read said that you have to have more commentary than TV show. And I'm realizing now that people are just pulling clips and reacting to clips. So they're having like a 15-minute video for a 30-second thing, and that's how they're getting around it. And I would have to prepare that. I'm not going to do all that. Let's see if we have any feel-good stuff. We got a lot of feel-good stuff. All right, let's pull up the chat so I can see it. I'm just going to read an email. The lives are more strict than the recorded content. That's good to know. I didn't know that. How do you feel about siblings who forcibly take custody of their siblings, then kicking them all out? How do you feel about siblings who forcibly take custody? I don't understand what you're asking. That doesn't read right to me. Staccatos currently, but they're like $2,500, and I don't know if I want to spend that kind of money on something like that. We are not private; we are public. And you can ask a politics question. We can run that. Fuck it. Worst is going to happen is people are going to get mad and leave. So a thank you email that says, "Hello, wonderful warrior souls. I can honestly say that I feel like the two of you are family / my tribe, or as I like to call it, my elephants. There is a deep meaning to this you can look up if you would like. I know we only met once. However, hubby and I have been watching and listening to you since March after you started, and I have watched almost all of the Patreon content. We even own both of Chris's books. Life-changing to realize that there are others that have been in similar situations and made a good life for not only them, but others as well." Who is this from? Is there a name on here? Oh, this is there's no names on this. I have no idea who sent this. Costa Rica was the best week of my life. The two of you and a few women from our tribe, who I now consider sisters, watched me wail out my eyes. I had a life-changing experience that I can't even try to explain. However, for the people who experienced it with me, you know I appreciated the space that all of you provided for me to feel safe, loved, and at peace. I'm not one to journal. However, the life that I live now is very free, calm, and more enjoyable. For that, I say thank you. The changes that I see in my marriage is something that I am proud of. I am now proud of and love to hold my head high for. I don't boast or show off, though I do like to flaunt the man that I call my husband. He is a big man, so it is hard for anyone not to look. And it doesn't bother me anymore. His weight used to be a big issue for me, and not because I saw him as any less or looked down upon him, but due to the assumptions and bad looks and feelings we would get from others. In a way, I was ashamed to go out in public with him because I didn't want people to talk poorly of him or make us feel uncomfortable. We have had little children come straight up to him and ask, "Why are you so fat? Are you pregnant?" I just want to cry and curl up and die because what do you say to that? Not even as his wife, but I shouldn't have allowed him to get so big. I felt like it was all my fault. He would always tell people that it was because of my cooking. I don't feel that way anymore because of to be better, fuck others. Yes, my husband may be big, but that isn't even the top 30 for what he is wonderful for. Our tribe has made me appreciate and see my husband in new eyes. I get butterflies every day around him, and I don't tell him. You should tell him. Oh, I don't tell him enough how much I love him and appreciate him. So if he's listening to this podcast, I love you more than anything in the universe, and I would love to renew our wedding vows. I actually know who this is. I know who that is. And they have since become a pretty big member of what we do, and we have... there's nowhere for me to put this to mark it as read. I'm just going to leave it. I'll let Peaches know we read it. I'll read one more of these because that made me feel good. All right. I saw your TikTok about wanting stories and the most romantic and loving thing that my partner and or I have ever done for each other. I thought I would take the time to tell you. We met online, and at first things didn't go anywhere. A month went by, and he reached back out to me again to reignite the fire, as he said. We spent nearly an entire day talking to each other through Snapchat, texting, and eventually on Discord. A day later, we were on FaceTime for several hours with each other. We developed feelings for one another. After spending hours on the phone with each other on a daily and nightly routine, everything happened very organically. Our goals, views, wants, and needs lined up seamlessly. Our first big obstacle was the distance. We lived in two different states with about a 13-hour drive distance. One of the first things he did that made me feel loved and wanted was buying a plane ticket to come see and hang out with me in person for a weekend. The moment we saw each other for the first time was like falling in love all over again, like we did virtually. I couldn't believe that I was special enough for someone to fly out to see me and still be in all of me in person. This comes from both of us dealing with very abusive narcissistic behaviors from our exes in the past. The smiles on our faces the entire weekend could write novels about each other. Next, he was happy to drive halfway for us to meet in the middle and spend the weekend together. We spent about 7 hours driving and to meet in a city that was the halfway point between where we lived. Even though it was only overnight to stay at an Airbnb, the fact that he wanted to see and spend time with me, even for a little bit, will always mean the entire universe to me. Now that we fly out to each other once a month and our relationship is growing and blossoming each week, we will be taking the next stage of moving in. I will be taking the next stage of moving in with him. He owns a home and I don't have any obligations tying me down to my current location. Hopefully within the next month, I will be moving out there. That man makes time for me no matter what. He has a daughter, a full-time career, family, and regular daily life to deal with, yet he still makes time for us, for me, whether it's talking on the phone or making time. He makes me so happy. He doesn't coddle me when I'm feeling down, but he gives me realistic advice and always asks what he can do to help me feel better. I make sure I do everything I can to make him feel as loved and that he makes me feel. Thank you for taking the time to read my email, my partner. I always watch your podcast and videos and love you both so much. We are very inspired by your relationship together and your thoughts and views. Well, thank you for that. Yep. Where'd the chat go? There it is. It was an opinion thing, not really a political thing, I suppose. Erica Kirk, how would you feel if Peach, being the co-owner of To Be Better, the To Be Better brand, behaved the way Erica has since his assassination? I find it wild. 100% honesty, I haven't paid attention to any of that shit. I have gotten I really have a whole lot of hatred for the government right now. Like across the board, politics just does not do it for me. And I used to have a lot of political conversations with people, and I don't really. It's wow, that's crazy, is what they get from me now. I don't have an opinion because I don't know the things that I'm seeing now. Though I'm seeing things removed from the lens of a political party or an allegiance to something, and I'm seeing the fucked up things that are happening and how everyone's getting rich off of it while we're getting fucked, and that's the biggest issues that I have. All right. How old were you, like how old are you now compared to when all this was going on, and what does it matter if you're an adult and living on your own? This is the integration of your past into your present and getting hung up on the past and holding on to shit that no longer serves you. I watched a video yesterday, guys. Like I've been watching a lot of there's a couple streamers that I found that will stream multiple live streams of what's going on everywhere, and sometimes they give opinions, sometimes they talk shit about political parties, sometimes they dick ride political parties, but I get to actually see what's happening on the ground where these protests are happening. And I watched somebody yesterday stand on top of a windowsill for almost an hour and then like run from a crowd of people who were trying to fuck him up because he was there disrupting their protest. And they hit him with something that busted his head open. He got stabbed. There was a whole lot of shit that went down. I don't agree with any of that. You guys, like, I am a very, very big advocate for nonviolence when it comes to protesting. Gandhi changed the world. Martin Luther King took the Gandhi principle and implemented it and changed the United States, the trajectory of the United States. And like they did that shit while police officers in the South were releasing canines on protesters and beating the fuck out of them. And they held arms and they walked down the street in a peaceful protest, never lifting a finger, never throwing bricks, never doing any of this shit. And I understand that we're in a different political climate than we were then. I think that the way that this is happening, there could be such a different thing happening that would make so much more of an impact, that would not make the other side of the political aisle think that the people who are protesting are stupid, that would actually gain the ability to have real discussions, because right now real discussions aren't being had. The political parties are fighting each other, and the people who dick ride the political parties are fighting each other. There's nothing happening right now that's bringing attention to injustice. The attention's being brought to what's happening because of the injustice. You guys aren't going to make any change because of that. Was that comment directed to me? She caused PTSD in me because of all of her abuse before kicking me out, and I'm still going to therapy to work through everything. That was directed towards you. That was absolutely directed towards you. If you were 17 when this happened and you're 30 now, you had 13 years to like work through the things that happened. Yes, that shit happened to you, but you can't live in the past. You can live in the present. I understand having CPTSD. I fucking have a TBI. I have brain injuries. Like my body is fucked up. My brain is fucked up. I have emotional scars like everyone else, but I understand that my life is my life to live, and what happened to me then is not a reflection of who I am now. All of the abuse, physically, emotionally, psychologically, being passed around to people as a fucking child, like all of the shit that I went through it. It fucking sucked. It sucked to go through, but like who I am now is who I am now. I'm not living then. I'm not a kid anymore. Like I'm not going through those circumstances. So I don't know. I just really fucking focus on right now. Chris is politically based. I love it. Guys, we are in a position where we could actually change the world. We could change the world. The reality is we will never actually make change in this world because we will not stop fighting each other long enough to go after the ones who are actually suppressing us. There are 338 million people in this country right now, I think. Might be more than that. I don't know. 340,000 people, 340 million people in the US. If half of them, if just half said, we're not doing this anymore, stop paying taxes, stop fucking reporting to government duty, and all of us just went outside and fucking sat down and was like, we're not participating in this anymore. We want real change. We could change the entire course of the United States. It would only take half of us. It wouldn't even take half of us. It would take significantly less than half of us. But yeah, I'm not upset. I just, you going through right now, you rehashing your past and asking my opinion of what you went through sucked. Beyond that, I have nothing for you other than you're not 17 anymore. You're going to therapy. Good on you for doing those things. People are shitty. That's all there is to that. You will always have people that take advantage of others. That's all there is to that. But your life is yours to live. So it's not a shitty thing. I'm not upset. You asked a question and my answer to you is focus on now. I believe that when we have, so this is no different than getting stuck in a psychedelic loop. When we have things that we went through and our brain has a hard time processing what happens, we can get DID. We can develop like short-term amnesia. We can straight up disassociate and like forget that things happened. There's a whole lot of things that the brain will do to take care of itself while we're going through those things. In order for us to heal and grow past those things, we have to acknowledge that they happened, work on how they made us feel through the moment, and realize that we are no longer in those situations and we are capable of living the life that we want to live. I've done a lot of therapy, and I got to be honest, the therapist gave me all the fucking word salads and the, the tools that they thought were going to help me do shit and all of that. And the thing that helped me was realizing that I'm not a little kid anymore. The thing that helped me is me realizing that not only am I in the driver's seat of this thing that's called life, it's my fucking car. And I get to drive this bitch wherever the fuck I want to go. And I am responsible for my turns. I'm responsible for my acceleration and my brakes. And me accepting that all of that shit in the past was just shit in my past that I had no control over allowed me to let it go. And then obviously plant medicines helped quite a bit too. But that also helped me get to the conclusion of just letting it go. And I know that you can't tell people who have trauma to just let it go, because if it was that easy, everyone would just let it go. It's just a change of perspective. I don't know. Oh man, we're almost 3 hours in. Guys, this is really starting to hurt my back, so I think I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to go stretch. I may get on Call of Duty in a little bit. If I get on Call of Duty, I'll tag you guys. For those of you who are stuck in your past and you're living through shit and you're replaying things over and over in your head, the only way to break loops is to let go. And it's like that in psychedelics. It's like that in real life. You have to let go. Your life is your life, and the only thing that's currently happening is what's currently happening. So I'm done. I'm off. I will see you guys when I see you guys. Oh, wrong button.